welcome to this future date of Tuesday, October the 27th, 2020. I say it's the future because new consoles are here. It's the Giant Bombcast. I'm Brad Shoemaker. Jeff Kurzman is here. Ben Pack.
Hello. I am the new console.
I don't have a new console.
I'm very big.
Wait, which console? Which console are you?
I'm the big one. The big one. I don't know. Wait, that could mean a lot of things. Yeah, it could.
I feel like that statement is open to interpretation.
With its smelliest cables.
Watch out.
That's right. Yeah.
It's big boy season. Are we still saying? No, we're not. We're done.
Well, it's not. I mean, as we roll into November, that's
okay.
Big boy season.
Officially. It's big boy. There you go.
It's good. Big console energy.
Big boy did it.
Big boy.
Why is this so big?
It's large.
Because heat.
Yep.
Because heat and fans and sound and noise.
It's like the same size as my fucking. Oh,
Ben, are you okay?
Alienware. Yeah, I'm fine.
I could see people in it.
I got the new console here. It's got this big. It's big.
It's a big boy.
What is that?
It's tea.
Is that
it has a little milk in it.
What is that? Is that an air filter?
Where?
Is that a computer?
Where we look?
That thing, that Tron-looking thing. Is that your
this?
Yeah, no, this is a computer. I got one of those over here in the corner too.
Is that what those computers you guys got look like?
Yeah, here.
Weird.
Look at frontal view here.
Huh.
Ooh.
We got the black ones because they were actually cheaper.
Oh man, that thing looked kind of cool.
That case fucking sucks.
Oh, I believe it. Yes, small custom cases like that always suck.
Yeah. Like I cracked it open because it's like because I've got a PC here that is has an old CPU but a better video card, and I was like, okay, maybe I can combine these parts into something that is going to be a proper computer instead of having one that has all the storage space and video card, or like all this other stuff. But like that case has no fucking drive bays in it for full-size drives.
You kind of can't get that anymore. I don't know if you've looked at cases lately, but they're kind of all losing the external drive bays.
All these Fractal Design, I think, just put out a new case that is still like, fucking, we got bays for days, fool.
Let me see here.
But the super tight, weird Alienware case is straight up shit. As someone who cracked it open, thinking about like, okay, what else can I put in here? It's like, oh, nothing. Thanks.
I mean, they are specifically not built with that in mind, right? Like they're for people who don't want to have to bother cracking it open and.
Well, I guess so. But like, as someone who bought Alienwares 10, 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, remember the GameSpot Alienwares?
Yeah, like I bought a couple of Alienwares back in the day, and they were just regular ass cases, and you could do whatever. And like they have over time just become this like horseshit of a nightmare of a case.
Could you get like a capture card in there, like a little guy?
I don't. There might be like one or two slots in there that are available, but like the cooling, like the power supply and fan and stuff is laid over a lot of that stuff in a way that like to get at those slots is a super pain in the ass.
Oh, gross.
It's weird, man. It sucks.
You know what? It doesn't suck.
It's like if you want a PC that is a console, if you're just like, I want a PC that I'm never gonna do anything really without it being a super pain in the ass.
And there's a market for that. There's people.
There's a huge market for that.
Yeah, totally.
You know what? It doesn't suck.
What,
Brad?
It's the PlayStation 5? Excuse me, the DualSense controller.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, they better be sucking in a lot of air.
Into the cooling springs level of Astro's Playroom.
And Brad's going to crack open his PS5 right now on air for everyone. All right, take it away, Brad. Crack that baby wide open.
Those things are pretty
I
cool.
imagine it looks a lot like the Alienware and they're only tighter.
That's possible.
Like, no, they did their chat.
Yes.
The controller, the PlayStation 5 is extremely cool. When used in conjunction with cooling springs, a level found in Astro's Playroom.
That's right. We cannot speak to anything outside of that level and how
Sounds like you guys are really specific about what you are talking about here.
Who knows? That controller could function wildly differently in every other level of that game.
You could play it in another level of that game. It could burst into flames and kill 100 people. Like, we don't know. And if we did know, we wouldn't be able to tell you.
That's right.
But yes, the
Show us your hands. Are your hands burned? Are you okay? Can you do that? Okay, Jeff's hands appear to not be burned.
Can't show you my left hand for reasons that I can't get into.
Will become
separate.
Will become
separate than
clear.
the Sony.
Reasons that will become clear on a later date. No.
It's less of an embargo and more of a court order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a whole thing.
So yeah, we put up a video of some Astro's Playroom this morning and talked about that level and the controller, the DualSense, and I feel like I'm probably going to be repeating myself a little bit here, but like I did not go into the experience of using the PlayStation 5 expecting the controller to be the thing that blew me away, and yet here we are.
It's awesome.
It's
really, the haptic
really
feedback. Yeah, like I'll probably repeat myself too, but like it is a level of fidelity on the rumble and specificity that is when you thought Nintendo was trying to do a thing. This is what you thought it was going to be, because it super wasn't that in the Switch. Like this, it's actually really cool. Like different surfaces as as Astro walks over them, and things like that. You will feel the rumble differently on different sides of the controller, depending on which foot he's putting down, all this other stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it should be said that like Astro's Playroom, the Cooling Springs level, seems to be meant as a showpiece for the controller.
Yeah.
Hey, this is packed in with the console, and we're going to show you what the controller does.
It has a bit of a tech demo vibe to it. That's not to say that it's not a playable game. Like it's totally a game. It's like a nice, simple, little straightforward platform.
It has trophies. You
Cooling
do stuff.
Springs, at least, is a
Yeah,
nice,
Cooling Springs seems like a video game.
straightforward little platformer with a lot of neat little like celebrations of the life of the PlayStation. You know, the PlayStation brand over the years.
The PlayStation 3 specifically.
Yes, you're right.
Cooling Springs seems to be devoted to the PlayStation 3.
What have you got in there? Like Sony PlayStation All Stars tribute level.
No, it's less software and more hardware. And more like here's like a big
like
model of
like the camera and
Oh, okay.
like the
eye
gun
toy.
attachment.
the gun shell and the eye toy would be a PlayStation 2 peripheral, which
It's
who can
not a
say if
toy.
it's in there? I sure don't know.
Not in Cooling Springs.
Definitely
Not in Cooling Springs.
They had rubber ducks.
Yeah,
I was happy with that.
Cooling,
Ducks from the tech demo.
The ducks
Cooling,
make an
Cooling
appearance.
Springs is about that triple. Okay.
That's right.
It's
So yeah, I'm trying to like we have to talk around a lot of stuff here. So
like the haptic stuff though, like running around in that level, like it's like the first level is on a beach, and when you're running around on the sand, like the feel of the haptics, like the best way I can describe it is using like tactile kinds of adjectives. You know, like when you run around on the sand, it's got a gritty feel to the way that his footfalls feel.
Huh.
Like when you run on metal, it's got a clunk. You run on a hollow surface, it feels like kind of an echoey, hollowy. Like it's really precise and really convincing.
yeah. And that's kind of only, I guess that's half the story, right? The rumble, that feedback is really neat, but it's the triggers, the analog triggers on that thing are fucking crazy.
Yeah, like the haptics are cool, but the triggers are actually like something I feel like I have never seen before.
Or felt.
Yeah, it is like, it seems like you can make it. It seems like you could make that into a GameCube controller analog trigger if you wanted to.
Yeah,
But why would you?
I can't tell. I don't know. In Cooling Springs, there don't seem to be a lot of reasons, but maybe
it's got its uses.
it's yeah. So
Let's say you were going to present the player with the option to zoom in on a thing, and you added some extra tension to the trigger so that it was easier to zoom very slowly.
Sorry, I don't mean like
Without
why would
overshooting.
you do that on a controller? I'm saying why would you bring another GameCube controller into the world?
yeah, well, that's they've done it in in as an optional thing. Like if they wanted to do it, it could be done. Doesn't mean that anyone will do it
Or should.
But the idea being that like you can that trigger can stop part way, almost like those Elite controllers with the switches, but solely through this kind of whatever their haptic or their feedback mechanism or whatever you want to call it.
But unlike the triggers on the Elite controller, where they're using a piece of plastic that they are shoving in there to block the trigger, here you can have it kind of block, but then with enough force, you can still push past it. You know,
like a GameCube controller.
Yes, exactly. It's got that click.
Gotcha.
Got the little click at the end.
So they can kind of insert a click into that if they want to, or they can just make it more tense, like drawing a bow. Like if you wanted to have a situation where you wanted to feel the tension on pulling a bow back, you could pull that back. You could imagine situations where like that controller in a driving game with different road surfaces and that sort of thing. Like, and then that's what the Xbox controller was good at doing. They put rumble in the triggers in a way that for like when Forza Motorsport 7 shipped alongside the Xbox One, you were like, this is actually awesome. I feel different textures of road in the triggers. And so this is like that for the whole controller and then some, plus this ability to have just different levels of tension throughout the throw of the analog stick. And it'll be interesting to see what developers do with that. I think the concern ends up being similar to what we were talking about with the hint system last week, where our third party is going to support this in a meaningful way. Are they going to put in the work to do it when they're also making a PC version and an Xbox version? Or are they just going to go like, whatever, maybe we'll do a little bit, but but are they going to give it a full pass the way an exclusive PlayStation 5 game probably will? And that's when I start to get a little bummed out. But it's the controller stuff is super impressive.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, because I didn't like the look of it. It looked like there was like a shorter throw on the face buttons. Like
that's kind of
they feel okay. I didn't have any issues with the face button stuff.
A little bit of a mush to them, I guess, but not.
Yeah,
they're fine.
D-pad feels about the same.
Yeah. Stick's pretty similar.
Yeah. The sticks feel like they, well, I don't know. I say the stick, they might just be because it's a new controller, but the sticks felt maybe slightly tighter.
Yeah.
Which I always like a tight stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've heard.
I like a good flick back on a stick. And, yeah.
It's got it right there. This is a super minor nitpick, but I thought it was kind of amusing. They're still using the colored button prompts in game, but then on the face of the controller, they're all just kind of black and white.
Oh, weird.
So you can't exactly use that as a guide anymore, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I will say I can't wait for new colors.
Yeah.
I don't like the white, but I don't know. Some people are into the design of this thing. I think it's gaudy.
It's growing on me very quickly, I will say.
Cool.
It feels great in the hand. I think it feels better than the DualShock 4 did. It's got a slightly denser, more sturdy feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Astrobot, the cooling springs level of Astro's Playroom, in fact, is not even Astrobot. It's a really nice showpiece for what the controller can do, and it's a fun little thing on its own. They kind of break it up with you're running around, like basically there's like 4 levels in the world, and levels like 1 and 3 are on foot, run around punching stuff, and then levels 2 and 4 are like you're in this little springy frog outfit, and so you're pulling the trigger to cock this spring back, and then you're using the motion controls to aim the frog and letting off to spring forward. And there's just pulling that back, the tension in that spring is really nice. It's really fucking neat. And it gives you like an extra chunk in it when you cock it all the way back, it will eventually like you're crouching in Super Mario 2 or something, and you eventually get that super jump. Like if you pull it long enough, it will kind of click in a little bit more for a longer jump, and you'll feel that in the trigger.
I mean, I think that instance literally is the GameCube trigger thing, right? It's got the little click all the way at the bottom.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess they are kind of using something similar to that for sure. You can turn off or turn down the strength of the intensity on that stuff, and I think if your microphone is turned on, the intensity might be a little bit different. I don't know if the rumble is going to interfere with that or whatever, but there's some aspect of that there.
You said you've been rolling with the mic muted on that controller. I had totally not thought about doing that.
Always mute all mics,
yeah.
but then I guess later on in Cooling Springs, you get on a little ice thing, and there's a little fan that if the controller is not muted, you are to blow into it to make the fan spin. Whereas with the mic muted, you just stand there for a sec and then it starts spinning. And I didn't even realize that was a fan moment until we recorded that video and you blew in the controller. I was like, oh,
so you're just robbing yourself of game mechanics.
Exactly. Yeah.
By not allowing your controller to listen to you at all times.
That's right. Exactly.
That's what they want.
Controller's got a speaker on it. It'll spit audio out of that thing.
Yep.
But again, I played with headphones plugged in most of the time, so that disables the controller speaker.
I saw going around this one, I think it was Blessing, it kind of funny, found that you can plug a USB-C headset into the USB-C port on that thing, and it works.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you
Huh,
don't have
that's
to use
cool.
you don't have to use the analog headphone jack if you've got nice USB-C headphones,
Yeah. Huh.
which is a cool touch that I would not have expected.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's because we got enough photos of ears sent in to Mark Cerny that they were able to
Yeah.
kind of backwards engineer that.
Ears for headsets. It's our fundraiser that we're running this year. 24-hour live stream.
That's right.
We need those ears.
That's right.
Gotta get those
Stretch
ears.
goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send us to your ears.
I didn't. Well, I guess we can't. But I didn't see any space to send in my ears. I don't know if that. I wonder if they're
Maybe it
gonna
was in a
actually.
different level.
Are they actually doing that? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you don't need ears for cooling springs, but yeah. I mean, obviously, like more to say about
Yeah.
the rest of Astro's Playroom.
Say a fairly limited slice of the experience so far that we can talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, we posted an unboxing this morning. We got that thing out of the box and set it up. We could talk about that.
Yeah, it's a console. You need a stand regardless of how you're going to put it,
Yeah, was that
horizontally or vertically.
Was that not widely known before
That was in
this?
their video.
Yeah, okay, I
they
thought-
definitely put that in their video.
Some-
But I still think it's it's like worth pointing out. And I wonder, I'm thinking about like, okay, 5 years from now, when you're seeing a PlayStation 5 for sale, like secondhand at a flea market or a pawn shop or something, will it have the
Right, is it just
stand?
gonna be
And if
sitting
not,
there
you're going to be like, well,
lopsided,
lopsided, just wobbly. Yeah,
Like you touch it, press down on one side, seesaws back and forth.
right. Just like the PS4 did. Remember, we got the rubber feet that people went all fucking ape shit about.
That's right. Horizontal
Almost
stands
like
are
we were
back.
talking. Yes, horizontal stands are back, and it clips right on there.
It
You
does.
set it up. It looks like it's floating a little bit. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at it from kind of overhead when it's horizontal, yes, it looks like it's just kind of hovering on the shelf, which is interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's the way the stand attaches horizontally is a little precarious to me. I think we showed it off in that video a little bit. Like it doesn't actually it clips onto the back and then it just kind of hangs. Like
I pulled because I have it pretty far back in my entertainment center, and I went to pull it forward and pulled it right out of the stand.
wow, that's
So actually moving it around on your turning it around to maybe plug in cables into the back or something like that might actually be a situation where you're like, shit, I gotta clip it back in now.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that might be a little frustrating in spots.
like when it's just sitting on your shelf, I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, you need to kind of be careful picking that thing up because the stand just sort of hangs off the back of the clips on the back, and that doesn't seem great to carry around very much.
Yeah, it's not like a screw-in mount or anything like that. I think if you do it vertically, it screws in.
Yes,
right.
I've got mine vertical right now. Yes,
I've got mine vertical right now.
you have to. Consoles are exciting.
Yeah. One hand only.
Ask us anything else about cooling springs or the packaging of the PlayStation 5.
Just the packaging.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
Or what the contents of the box.
That's right. I don't think we
I
can.
gotta.
We can't even talk about using the console itself yet. I believe.
Yeah, like I've got a headset and the Pulse headset and stuff that I have not.
Oh, I want to try that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I have not gotten that stuff out yet. But they did send the accessories, the camera, and some of that other stuff over as well.
Cool.
Though we wouldn't be able to talk about what that did, if anything, either. So, yeah, it's like that with both these consoles in terms of we'll talk about the stuff when we can talk about it, and we'll have more to say over the next couple of weeks, I guess. But I guess first impressions of that controller. And of Astro's Playroom's cooling springs level, I would say I am super into both of those things.
Yes, absolutely, same thing.
Cool.
Extremely positive react. They over delivered on that controller a lot.
Yes,
That's awesome.
And yeah,
And Astro's Playroom is free, right?
it is
Like,
free.
it comes with
It is.
Okay.
It is installed.
pre-installed.
Yes,
Pre-installed.
right there on the console.
Nice.
Don't even got to download it. Yeah, that thing is just super endearing. Like it's super charming. Just the nostalgia blast of that thing. I guess I won't say too much more than that. But it's very likable.
Yeah. Have we tried? Someone in chat asking, have we tried the new trophy stuff? Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I don't know. The
Who can
documentation seemed pretty specific about talking about the experience of the PlayStation 5 outside of that thing. So
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yes, indeed. What else we got going on? Anybody? Somebody raise your hand.
I played
how this works.
I played Geometry Wars
Wait, no,
Retro
hold on.
Evolved.
You make us tell you all the games we have to play so you can like
Yeah, well, I didn't have that email open,
masterfully
right?
segue things together, and now all of a sudden it's a free-for-all. You throw us all in a pit and throw a stick in the middle of us and make us fight over it.
Kind of juggling a lot over here right now. Help me out. What? Yeah, what the fuck? Why did you put Geometry Wars on this list?
Because I played some of it.
Okay, go on.
That game's good, right?
I played some of it a couple weeks ago myself.
It's a good game.
What was the occasion?
Oh yeah, just no reason. Just
Okay.
thought maybe I would fire up Geometry Wars Retro Evolved and
Okay.
see and just play some of it.
So are we talking the version that's on Steam?
No,
We're talking about you hooked up an Xbox 360.
remember that Xbox 360 game that came out?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways to play that.
Oh wow. Huh.
I played some of that.
Wow, that's a hell of a game.
It is a hell of a game.
Quite a game.
It is always going to be a hell of a game, and I was yes, it was fun to go back to and play some of it just because, and check out some of that. You know, it's that game holds up, and I still don't have all the achievements in it, and
Yep.
there's some part of me that wants to get a million points without dying
Uh-huh.
achievement there.
Yeah, you don't say.
But
You think it's better than 2?
Yes. Well, yes.
that is 2.
Wait.
Well, I guess.
Well,
yeah.
I don't think the
No,
I guess
previous
they did
ones-
Retro Evolved 2. That is the second Geometry Wars game.
but
Yes.
but it was the first one to get like a standalone release, right?
Right. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
It was always part of.
Because it was like Project Gotham, right? It was a mini game in one of those games.
Yeah. And I guess they put that version of that game into Retro Evolved. It's just the other mode or whatever. So, or that's updated. Anyway, I think Geometry Wars 2 has more modes, and that's neat. Was it 2 where they added the bits that you
Yes,
pick up?
the Geoms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That-
Retro Evolved is a better game.
Yes, I think I have to agree.
Picking up the geoms to like raise your multiplier and all that other stuff, I
Yeah.
feel like it takes a little bit away from the pure. Well, no, look, you know, it's a different game.
Yeah.
Geometry Wars 2 is cool. It has like awesome modes, like the multiple leaderboards. It is like it is a great game.
Pacifism was
On
like
its
a
own-
fantastic idea for a mode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some really interesting ideas
hey.
in there.
And neither of them are Geometry Wars 3, am I right?
Exactly. That's the best part about those games is that none of them are Geometry Wars 3.
Geometry Wars
which
3 is fine. It's not
Geometry Wars
amazing.
3 sucks.
It doesn't suck.
Disappointment.
I
I don't know
Just-
how
yes.
they could have made a better
I
game
think-
than 1 and 2. It's
Totally.
not-
I think that like them making it into a level based thing,
yeah.
that's not interesting to me. Like that progression stuff I think is just dumb.
It's not what I necessarily was looking for, but it's not terrible.
It's not
fine.
it is still there's still some elements of geometry but that only serves to make it more disappointing where you're like, man, I should just be playing any of the 2 previous Geometry Wars games instead of this one. And by the time it came out, like remember, like God, you know, there had been a zillion different dual joystick shooters. The 360 launched with like 3 of them.
I mean,
I
that
was
was
playing
like
some
the
Crystal
Xbox
Quest
Indie
the other day.
arcade.
That's not a game.
Yeah, no. Aside from the indie game stuff, I mean, just straight up Xbox Live Arcade.
Sorry, yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah.
Like Xbox Live
Yeah.
Arcade was just a haven for dual joystick shooters.
Yeah,
Man, that was great.
Remember, was it Rogue Corpse, the car one?
We should do that again.
yeah. Rogue Core. No. What is that? What the fuck is the actual name of that game?
Yeah. It was good though.
It's Sega put that out, right? That's a cool game.
Hey Jeff, I've seen a few people in chat here say if you like Geometry Wars, you should play some Disc Room. So maybe you should check out Disc Room, Jeff.
I checked out Disc Room.
What?
Renegade Ops is the name of that game.
Renegade Ops.
It's a good game.
I watched the quick look for that game not long ago, actually.
Huh.
And I did it to get it on my recently watched list on the front page of the site, just because I wanted to see that thumbnail occasionally.
Nice.
What's Disc Room?
Disc Room is like if they made a game that was the pacifism mode of Geometry Wars 2.
Oh, huh. This
Okay.
has got an interesting look to it.
And and all the enemies were giant saw blades. And it looked a lot like, it looked superficially like Smash TV in that there are often doors at all four corners of the room. It's so it's not just one room. It is truly disc rooms. Not to spoil anything, but there's more than one room. And the basic idea is you are a little dude. You go to some planet or big disc planet. I don't know. You go somewhere in space, and you find a bunch of rooms full of murdery discs. And your job is to not get murdered by the discs, but also your job is to often get murdered by the discs. Because each room will have different objectives that you want to complete, and there are incentives for dying at least once. Actually, there is an incentive for dying only once to each type of disc in a run. And you'll have situations where it's like, okay, I need to survive in this room for 20 seconds. And if I do that, it will open up the door left out of this room. That's not to say that it opens and you run out immediately. You go until you die. And then when you die, it totals up what you did and opens the doors accordingly. So it'll be like, oh, you need to survive 20 seconds in this room to do this. You need to, and some of these get devious in a way and play off the game's abilities. You'll earn an ability to dash right off the bat, pretty early on, where you just hit A and you can dash through a disc. But you'll eventually get different abilities like slow down time and one that creates clones. And so you'll find an ability. You'll find a room objective that says die 4 times to this specific enemy.
Oh, interesting.
And you're like, at first, when you might get there before you have that ability, you look at it and go, what the fuck even is this? And then once you realize that you can clone yourself and have 20 of you running around all just getting murdered, then you're like, oh, I need to hold down A, create more clones, die to this enemy, and do that 4 times in this run to open up the door to the north or something like that. Or I need to have collected 4 abilities before it will let me go east out of this other room. And so you can kind of warp from room to room around the map and do whatever. It's an interesting structure. It's weird sometimes because when you warp to another room, it'll pop up and say like, this is going to end your run. And you're like, wait, this isn't, like, it's kind of a run based game, but kind of not. Like, I don't think that matters in the way that I think it does. It's sort of strange in that sense, but each room has a leaderboard. But when I was playing it, the leaderboards didn't seem to show anyone other than the developer time on it. So I don't know if it's just a local leaderboard, which wouldn't be that interesting.
Yeah.
Or if the online leaderboards were just broken or something like that. But I don't know, man. Disc Room has a lot of neat ideas, and I played it for an hour, and I don't think I like it enough to want to see the rest of it, I guess is what I would say. Like, I've got about half the abilities, and I'm playing going like, this is neat. And it's got some interesting ideas about, some of the different ways you interact with those rooms. And there'll be like enemies that pop up through the floor. There are boss fights where a boss will drop tiny dots, and every time you get a dot, it does damage to the boss. So you kind of have to dodge all the discs and pick up these different things to eventually defeat the boss, or get it to transform into whatever. And in those types of rooms, instead of a timer, it'll be like the number of dots you collected. But it still displays as a time, which is a little weird, but
so neat, but not a lot of staying power is what I'm getting here.
I think there are definitely other people who seem to be getting a lot more out of it than I am. I think I played it and felt like this isn't, like, the default challenges are not super difficult, but also I don't know that I'm into it enough to want to go off into the deep end difficulty wise. Like, it's in this weird limbo where it's like, this is fine. It seems well made. Like I said, I might have had enough of it. I might go back to it 1 or 2 more times or something, but it just seems like a really neat idea that just didn't really grab me.
You want to talk about something that's neat and did really grab you?
Yes.
Let's talk about Geometry Wars Retro Evolved.
Now that's a dual joystick shooter.
You know the one thing that has started to bug me about that game over the years as I have gone back to it periodically?
What's that?
The spin up time on every run is just a little bit too long.
Yeah.
The amount of time it takes to get good or fun
So-
or chaotic or whatever. You know what I mean? It's
Disc Room has an answer to that. You can hold down a trigger to speed up time.
Whoa.
And so if you're in
Oh,
it, if you're
man.
like, so one of the challenges will be like, you need to survive for 120 seconds. And I'm like, fuck, man, like that's not that hard for one thing. And also like the first 30 seconds of it are super slow on the ramp up. So if you just speed up time, it speeds up everything, including the timer. And so it made getting through that sort of stuff like, okay, yeah, that's a smart addition.
Man,
so
that sounds great.
it's a well-designed, cool thing. I don't definitely don't want to shit on it, but at the same time, it's like, hey, you know,
Sure.
you know,
I think if I remember, I haven't played it in years, but I think that's one thing that Geometry Wars 2 did do better is that it just gets you into the shit a lot faster.
yeah, I think you're right.
But
Yeah, the startup on a run, that point where you get to like 150,000 points in Geometry Wars, and then you fuck up and die,
Yes.
and you're like, man, it wasn't even that hard yet, but I fucked up and died, and now I have to go through all that early game stuff again. Like that's the thing I think that keeps people from getting those million points without dying achievements. Is just the ramp up.
What if they updated Geometry Wars again? It'll never.
They
happen.
should make a new Geometry Wars. They
No, I
should
mean, no, I'm past
honestly
that one.
like. Okay, yeah. I mean, they should. Yes, if they like, they should patch that to run natively at 4K or something. Like,
Oh man,
and polish up the assets and stuff. Like they should do that. Like that would be fucking cool.
it looks like Stephen Capred may have started tweeting again. I think he was out of the game for a while, but he's
Oh shit!
here. He is on October 3rd, tweeting a video of Geometry Wars 2 with auto HDR on.
Oh,
His banner is a screenshot of Geometry Wars. What if he's back in the game?
See, if I were Microsoft, if I was John Microsoft, if I were
seriously.
Bill Microsoft,
Seriously.
I would be going to Activision saying, "Sell us this thing. You don't know
Fucking
what the fuck you're
dude.
doing with it. You're not going to do shit with it. Give it to us for here's $20, and we'll co-market fucking whatever you do that isn't Call of Duty. Oh no, I guess they have called. They did the. Did Microsoft get called? No, I guess that's still so. Or does just no one have it
Yeah, I think Call of
anymore?
Duty's not doing exclusive.
Oh, you know what? No,
platform exclusive
Modern
stuff
Warfare
anymore,
did have like an exclusive mode on PS4.
Okay.
And some additional assets. So that maybe that is still Sony. Anyway, just go to Activision and say we'll throw co-marketing dollars at you and some
Dude,
cash.
seriously, if I worked at Microsoft and
and-
I had any power over decision making and budget allocation, that is all I would be trying to do is
Yes.
get a hold of both that IP and Stephen Capred
Yeah,
and get a new Geometry Wars.
and get a new Geometry Wars that's good and call it Geometry Wars 3.
Oh God, chat.
But I mean, what
something-
could you even do to Geometry
I-
Wars?
I've got
I
an
don't know,
answer
that's
for
a-
you.
that's a-
I've got an answer for you. It's right here in the
Okay.
chat. Geometry Wars 99.
Yeah,
Okay.
Some,
Yeah.
some slow nodding of
Yeah,
heads going on here.
it's done.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
wow, great.
Okay.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Oh,
But what you would do to Geometry Wars is you would render it at a sick high resolution.
yes.
You would
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
put like real like high touch HDR. Like you would make it cool. You would make it look fucking cool on modern consoles and modern TVs. I want a Geometry Wars that pops on an OLED in ways that were heretofore unimaginable. You know,
honestly,
And,
like just a Series X patch for that game that made it all nice in 4K and HDR and made that one tweak I mentioned. That's all I'd actually need. That would automatically become the most exciting game of the next gen console launches.
The people
to
who
me.
did the Tetris Effect soundtrack to contribute the
Okay,
music,
sure.
or
you know, there's an up tempo.
there's plenty of up-tempo Tetris 90
You're
or
right,
Tetris
yeah.
songs.
You're right. There are.
Burning Passion.
fair.
Yeah. Is that the one with the rap?
No,
That's
was
at the
bad.
end of the first set of levels? Because I recently played that on Oculus VR and was reminded at how fucking questionable those rhymes are.
there's the scatting one. Wherever you rotate a piece, it
Oh,
scats.
that's great.
Doesn't he rhyme vision and division?
I think so.
I don't know
yes.
if can you do that?
It's division is a
Sure.
different word.
Yes.
It works for Tom Clancy.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I totally get exactly what you were trying to say. There is a certain time and place aspect to the music in Geometry Wars. It's
Yeah,
like a little
yes.
Yeah.
cheesy, but like kind of part of the whole package at this point.
Yeah, you want it to be like that type of I think you want something more like that, and you want it to be remixes of that actual retro evolved music. I think like part of that is part of the charm there.
Man.
Yeah, they should do that. They should make it. They should do a new old Geometry Wars.
I mean, Phil Spencer, we'll get to it, but Phil Spencer out there teasing the return of some other beloved nuggets from the history of Xbox. It's, you know, hope springs eternal.
Exactly. Yeah.
You never know. He was there for all that stuff. He knows.
That guy probably played some Geometry Wars. He knows.
I bet he did. I bet he's played it in the last year or two.
You wouldn't want a totally drastically different soundtrack to a Geometry Wars game for the same reason you wouldn't want like Tempest 2000 or like modern Jeff Minter-esque Tempest to sound anything other than like whatever shit Jeff Minter was into in the late 90s.
Yes, indeed. Exactly. Jeff, do you know what you can say about Watchdogs?
Oh, you know, I should look that up. Sorry. I know they're being weirdly specific about that. The Cooling Springs level of Watchdogs Legions is
It says you can talk about anything, but you have to use a Cockney accent.
Okay. Moving on then.
The character that I picked, I think literally the first line of dialogue out of his mouth included the phrase, "This is straight mental."
Is
anything right proper in that game?
Yes. There's definitely a big up to a specific massive in there. There is also, and my question for people of London, if there are any on this podcast,
it's me.
Okay. Do people in London still refer to cops as the filth? Because I forgot that was a thing, and I don't think that's a thing anymore. But I gotta say, it's damn good.
Strong hell no from the chat on that.
I'm seeing like 2-to-1 no to yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I have not played up to any of the spots where they say don't talk about until whenever their
second embargo
other stuff is.
Okay, great. So first question, what's up with Stormzy?
Stormzy is a musical art UK grime artiste.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I think if you're going to make a game set in these modern times and you're going to make an open world game where you've got different genres of music on button presses, Stormzy being one of the tracks in there, you can't censor the lyrics.
What? Really?
You can't do that. I mean, because it's not a radio metaphor anymore. It's not a metaphor for, hey, I turned on the radio, so of course it's censored.
The radio doesn't even exist anymore. It's 2020.
It's 2020. Radio does exist, but like, and I meant to look up before we started this podcast, and now I'm going to look it up now. The ESRB rating of Watchdogs Legion. It is rated M.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
that's for mature.
A character during the intro sequence of the game says "fucking hell" right in the middle.
Right, you're right. Yes, their characters are swearing all over that game. I forgot, but yes,
Weird.
I definitely caught some like censored lyrics in the soundtrack. I didn't listen to every single track to know if that's like a uniform thing or something. But it was this feeling of just like. It's a weird atmospheric thing that kind of takes you out of it, because like the rest of that game's audio, like you know, they do the talk radio thing, but it's all podcasts, just like Spider-Man did, you know, a couple years ago or whatever, where it's just like, here's Buccaneer Radio. They even call it radio, but it's just like, here's the episode of this podcast and do this and all that. It just stands out. I don't know, whatever. Watchdogs Legion is weird, man. It is like an old-timey open world game in some ways, where like you zoom out on the map and there are all these different districts, and they're like, if you do the things in this district, it'll be complete, and then they'll be raging, they'll be defiant instead of being oppressed. And you know, all those systems and all that mechanical stuff is very much laid over this. And also in a weird way, it kind of harkens back to the kind of no-name protagonists of early open world games, like your GTA 3s and stuff like that. And it's weird because I think one of the coolest things they've done is the stuff they've done with the playable characters. But at the same time, the writing of those, because you can play as anybody in the game and you can go find all these and recruit your team and all this other stuff, necessarily then most of those characters don't have much to say.
Or when they do, it comes out, and I've seen this even, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm, 90 minutes in the game or something. But like, yes, every time they open their mouth, I'm not going to quite say it's Mad Libs-esque, but it very much is just a generic-ass line that feels like it was like recorded completely divorced from any of the context of what's going on around it, just sort of.
And they've written like 20 of those for however many of those for all the different player voices in the game. And then the real characters become Bagley, your AI counterpart, and Sabine, the lady that's running DedSec from afar, and all this sort of stuff where those are the characters that have meaningful things to say. And I don't like any of those characters. I like my playable characters and the headcanon I have built around them.
Sure.
And I think that's the really fascinating thing about this game.
How's the like just general vibe story vibe compared to those first two Watchdogs games? Because
it opens with you playing as a fucking James Bond-esque spy and shooting a bunch of people with an MP5 and disarming bombs. Like it is a much darker game. Like the setup for the game is that some group has set up to blow up large parts of London with bombs. And yes, they are a hacker group known as Zero Day, and which is like no one anyway. And they pin it on DedSec. So in the wake of that, a PMC moves in, private security moves in to replace the cops and oppress people at every turn. And DedSec is basically
like
no more or outlawed and hunted down and scattered to the winds. So like the first thing that happens is you are recruiting your first character to kind of rebuild DedSec, and that's the setup for the story. Is you're rebuilding DedSec while also trying to figure out who the fuck are these people, who did this, and also this private security force is literally fucking up people in the streets. Like there's just a lot of, you see people, it's just like dudes with guns standing around the streets, and then a woman will walk by and the guy go, "Oi, let me see your ID then." And then, like, okay, anything I can do to whatever. Or you'll see them like just straight up fucking like got 3 people tied up on the fucking street. And you can just run up and rescue them, which I did without the cop ever turning around and seeing, which was like a ridiculous concept. So like that is what they're trying to, that is the London they are trying to paint, is like this one that is like severely oppressed. It's like drones in the air all over the place, like full on surveillance state type stuff. And that provides you with a lot of opportunities for shit to hack and things to do. And it still has that playground of weird tools and things you can do. And like the gameplay and all that other stuff, I think is fun. But I think the setup for it is like fucking crazy dark compared to the wacky teen fun in over their heads feel of Watchdogs 2.
Right, because I didn't play through 2. I played like, I don't know, 8 hours or so, but the vibe was definitely like, this is a serious threat, but like, this is like an 80s movie where it's like, yes, the bad guy has a bad plan, but like, you don't acknowledge how fucked up everything is. You're just there to like have fun and beat him.
And like that game like stars like the kids from the local teen center,
Yeah.
Exactly. Like the idea of a dude with like an LED mask that has like smiley faces and emojis and shit on it in this game, from what I've seen of it, is like very out of place.
But it has like a lot of clothing options and stuff that do add like AR halos and just like goofy shit.
But it doesn't seem like anybody's necessarily having fun. Like things suck a lot.
Things suck a lot in this version of London. I don't know if things suck a lot in real London these days, but I can't speak to that. So maybe it's just real. But it's got a significantly darker tone right off the bat. But you're still like kind of getting up to hijinks and interacting with the world in potentially really creative ways. Like you can hack a cargo drone and bring it down, climb on it, and then just hover up and fly around the city. Or let's say I've got a spider drone I need to get somewhere, but I can't because there's fences and the spider drone can't jump that high. Like I landed a cargo drone, then hacked the spider drone, jumped the spider drone on top of the cargo drone, and then hacked the cargo drone again and flew the spider drone somewhere else to do some shit. Which seemed like it was probably way more than I needed to do to solve that particular thing, but you can do it. And it feels like you can take an open approach to a lot of the, not a lot, but some of the different goals, whether that's it, but oftentimes that boils down to, do you have a spider drone? Yes or no? Because if you do, there are grates you can get through. And if it's up high on top of a building, can you get a cargo drone? Yes or no? And for different playable characters, that will be a different answer potentially, because each character comes with traits. Most of them are positive in your favor, but you'll find there's one that's just like spontaneously dies. Huh. Well, I don't think I'm going to recruit this person.
So they can end up with multiple traits. Like they have you pick a starting playable character at the beginning out of like, I don't know, a dozen possibilities or something. And like all those starting characters just have one trait each, but I assume that starts like stacking up or something.
You get characters that have 4 traits. In some cases, and those can be things like they've got a loyalty card, so they get, but like the upshot is they get a discount on clothing, or they this person has their own car, so you can summon the vehicle with them.
I saw that, which like it's full on GTA. There's cars everywhere, you know. Like,
yeah, you don't really need a car.
Yeah.
And or in some cases, like this guy's got an MP5.
Whoa.
Like. There's like a weird. It's weird.
What's your
like,
special skill you're going to bring to the resistance? I got a gun.
I own a gun, mate.
Are you in?
I saw some of them.
All right, come on, man.
Some of them are like sort of team buffs, like your team stays in the hospital less time or stays locked up for less time or something like that.
Yeah. So the game defaults to permadeath off, which means if you get like hurt real bad, you are just in the hospital for like half an hour of game time, or if you get arrested by the cops, it's like a half an hour of game time. And you could do things like recruit a lawyer to help get your guys out of jail faster if you've got a barrister on your team, you know, and those sorts of things. So there's just a lot of neat ideas around that sort of stuff, and I think that's cool. I'm really curious. I didn't turn it on because it was not on by default, and I kind of wanted to, and also, you know, it is like, that seems like a hassle. I kind of want to see a lot of this game in a shorter period of time. But the permadeath stuff seems like it might actually be the right way to play that game.
Yeah, I started with it on.
Yeah, because you recruit people all the time. I guess, but the thing with permadeath is you can literally get a game over if you
I was
run out
of
people. I think.
Ask if you know, there are actually 3 options when you start the game, and they don't give context for what the differences are. There's permadeath off, permadeath on, and then Iron Man. Do you know what the distinction
I figure
is
Iron
there?
Man is like a different type of save structure, right? That's
Maybe
usually
so.
what that means in the context of like XCOM and stuff like that.
Maybe no hard saves or something like that? Or maybe it's just a
no
full-on game
manual
over.
saving. Or
Maybe it's just 100% game over if you run out of people
Maybe
or
if you
something
lose
like that.
a person, that you lose the game. I don't know.
no, I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
But I think like typically that means you can't make a manual save. So I'm assuming that's what that means.
Okay.
That's weird though, for like how expansive that game seems.
Or like maybe, I think someone in chat is saying that maybe it makes it so you can't turn off permadeath.
Oh, okay. Because when you start with regular permadeath, it says flat out like, hey, you can turn this off whenever you want, but I think
you can't turn it back on.
Yes, once you turn it off, it's off for good.
Yeah. So because I started a game with it off, I can't go turn it on.
Yeah. Which I haven't gotten deep enough in for people to die yet, but like that seems like the dramatic way to play that game, or create a lot of highs and lows for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because that'll put you in a position where you're like, man, I just lost my best operative and now I need to go recruit more. And I hope those missions go well, because if I hit a string of bad luck, then boy, I might just be boned. And that game's long enough that would be terrifying as the deeper you got in. And yeah, so yeah, you'll find you'll be able to recruit characters that have more traits and more traits at a time. And so you'll have like, oh, this person has their own drone, so you can just kind of pull it out whenever and fly around, or like a missile drone or whatever. And those different traits are interesting because it'll be like, oh, I get faster hack cooldowns, and so you can do things like disrupt someone's AR visor or their cell phone or something, and like that's the way you play this game, is you skulk into an area, you hit LB to make someone's phone ring, and then you run up and choke them out. And then you move on and do it again. But that's on a cooldown. So if you have someone with faster hacking, that cooldown is going to resolve itself faster, so you can make the next person's cell phone ring.
You think is it viable to play it as just a combat game if you have people that are just good in shooting and melee? Could you just kind of punch and shoot your way through the game, or is it not tuned that way?
I have punched the shit out of large groups of people in that game. And so the game does try to... They don't want you to kill people in the game, but they sure give you a lot of different ways to kill people in the game.
Like a guy with an MP5.
Like a guy with an MP5. But like in terms of like the DedSec weapons, they are all like, it's a non-lethal SMG.
What is that?
It shoots a different ammo. You know, they make non-lethal guns, rubber bullets and whatnot. If you shot a guy with enough of those, he would stop fighting back eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the basic idea. It's like, yeah, you could kind of go in there guns blazing, and I have shot down drones and all that sort of stuff. But I think they say like, hey, you know, DedSec doesn't kill people, and also as a further incentive beyond the idea that you are supposed to be the good guys, if you escalate to guns, they will respond in kind. So if you don't want to get shot, don't shoot.
Don't start none.
Generally speaking, yeah, but some people you're fighting will eventually go, what the fuck, and pull out a gun. Like as you're like knocking out 3 people in front of them, eventually they go like, I have a fucking rifle, and they will just pull it on you. And then you have some time to maybe try to focus on them and knock them out before they just gun you down. Have you
ever seen any instances? They implied this might be possible when I saw this at E3 last year. What is time? I don't remember what the fuck that was. But, when I got like the pitch from the developers of the game, they kind of implied that people that you mix it up with, you might be able to change their minds somehow. You might be able to like essentially recruit people that you're fighting in some ways. And they talked about like, you know, guards might end up in the hospital, and then you might be able to kind of run into them again later after you put them there and like talk them down and like convince them.
I just unlocked that stuff and haven't used it yet. So what that is so you find points spread around the world, tech points, and you can spend those as you see fit on it's not even tech tree. It's just like a list of abilities. And so that's where I got an AR cloak that lets me just turn invisible for a handful of seconds, which makes it, you know, they don't even have to make their cell phone ring. I can just turn invisible, walk over and choke them out. But that's on a longer cooldown. The stealth is actually not difficult. Like the cell phone and AR cloak stuff is neat, but generally I've just been like waiting around a corner and then going like, oh, and walking around and choking them out.
Are any of those abilities universal, or do they all unlock like per character?
The abilities are all universal.
Oh, interesting.
So when you unlock an AR cloak, you can equip that on your entire team. I'm now using a spider drone because I want to be able to crawl through those grates and get some of those, you know, tech point pickups, because sometimes they're hidden away in grates. And that spider drone can actually do takedowns on enemies too, which makes them crawl up the guy and attach to the face like a face hugger and shock them to the ground. Yeah. which is kind of fucked up. Gosh, what else? So I got the ability to AR shroud enemies I have knocked out, which is like kind of a cool effect. Like you knock a guy out and then it just automatically makes them blend into the background and appear kind of, you know, like cloaked people do in video games. Like you can still see the outline a little bit, and that hides them from enemies that would find them and raise an alarm or something like that. And that's kind of a fun one. But there's one in there called like deep profiling. And basically when you start the game, you can recruit anyone who is neutral about DedSec or positive about DedSec. And they'll all have like a recruitment mission that you go on that's like, oh, I spent all this money helping my friend, and then the local mob raised the price of the drugs I'm using to keep him alive. And what am I going to do? And you're like, well, I'm going to go steal an ambulance for you full of drugs. And then you'll join DedSec because we're cool, right, mate? And then he'll go, yeah. But, you know, enemy
like
guards it's exactly like that. Enemy guards that work for the PMC or the local gangs and stuff like that, they are not just going to let you walk up and go, what do I got to do to make you join up? So this deep profiler is going to be the thing that unlocks like their schedule of what they're doing, and so you can look for holes.
Okay, that is the
you
stuff
can look for holes in their schedule to maybe exploit it, and I think that's where the recruitment stuff and the kind of procedurally generated stuff probably starts to shine. That's where you get into the stuff they talked about, where it's like, oh, if these people were on a schedule where they went to go eat every day, and then someone got murdered, so now they just go to the cemetery instead, and, like those sorts of occasionally grim things.
That stuff sounds fun. Like, that sounds more interesting to me, and I'm not deep into the game, but the little bit I've seen of story missions in this game at preview events and so forth, like that dynamic stuff and like tracking the agents moving around the game and all the systems and interlocking sounds kind of more interesting to me than doing the actual story missions.
Yeah, I think I might agree with that. The story missions, like the third mission or something, like pretty early on in the game, you're basically like going into a police station. It's like, all right, it's weird, man. Like yeah. So I don't know. The intrigue around the main story itself has been somewhat interesting so far, but I think watching the way the systems revolve and interact with each other seems like it'll be the fascinating thing that game does. But I think like tonally it's fucking crazy, right? Like, it is a game about using a bunch of non-lethal weaponry in a world where we know that non-lethal weaponry sometimes isn't non-lethal. It's, it doesn't jive well with where we're at as a society in a lot of ways. And a lot of that stuff does sort of stand out. But I didn't have too much trouble putting that aspect of it aside, because I'm mostly focused on like building a team and doing that sort of stuff. And I think that's the clockwork kind of video gamey stuff here, I think is pretty interesting. But in terms of just like, yep, jumped in a car, drove here, pulled up a waypoint. You can auto drive at any time if you want. Like just driving out of the city, doing missions. It is an open world game. It is a open world game set in a modern city with cars and whatnot. Like it is very much like that blueprint. And a lot of the missions and areas and stuff like that seem like it's a building that is all outer area, and then there's an inner courtyard, and then there's guards walking around that inner courtyard. You have to get in there.
Yeah. Okay, that's exactly what I played at E3. Was a mission.
Yeah, like it feels like a ton of the areas are just that, especially for the procedurally generated areas where, well, the areas are not procedurally generated, but I have seen the same mission come up twice. Granted, I've played on 2 platforms, so it just came up once on each. But the scenario of Oi Gov, 300 of us just got sacked the other day, mate. Why would they do that? And you need to find out. And when you do, I'll join DedSec. And then it turns out it's an AI. And then you have to go you have to go shoot a box to kill the AI. And so I've seen that twice, but like different accents of characters on both ends of it, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's there's some really cool ideas in the middle of that thing, but it feels like it is surrounded by a lot of very old open world game trappings. Like pre-Assassin's Creed, like I'm talking about like the GTA Saints Row era of you driving these cars around and doing stuff, committing crimes and whatnot, but with the layering of hacking a drone and doing this and doing that, and the interlocking of cargo drones and different drones and lethal and non-lethal and all that sort of stuff. So potentially interesting. Like I really wasn't feeling it for the first hour or so, and then as I stuck with it a little bit more, I kind of got into more of just the team building aspect of it.
It's always fun to recruit a team.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna stick with it.
I definitely want to play more of it. I'm very curious to see how it looks on modern consoles.
What do you mean modern consoles, Jeff?
I mean the ones that are about to come out, because Watchdogs is only coming out on old consoles this week,
right?
And
this is out in 2 days, right?
Yeah, this is out this week, and then so I want to see what it looks like there, because it did not run great on an Xbox One X. And also it did not run great on PC. This PC anyway. It has the most one of the more specific benchmark.
It's a really good benchmark.
It's a really good
It's
benchmark. And
surprising.
so I spent a lot of time in the benchmark
Same.
stuff, but like I had to because the benchmark was running at 18 frames a second. And then I was like, well, that's not going to fly. And then going like, okay, well, I guess I need to turn ray tracing all the way off. And it's saying like, okay, it'll say as you turn them up and down, like this is going to be a major CPU hit. This will be a minor GPU hit, minor, so basically the weak link on this thing is the CPU.
Yeah.
And so it basically said like, hey, this 6700K you got is garbage. And I was like, damn. So I played it on this Alienware that has a much faster CPU in it. But a 2080 Super instead of a 2080 Ti. And even that took like, I could not run this on max settings. I had to turn quite a bit down and futz around with DLSS and run that benchmark over and over again. I do. I have it set to balance.
Balance
right
is what
now.
I'm using. Yeah, that should actually help performance if you find dial in the right mode.
But I could not dial in acceptable settings on like my main older gaming PC.
Yeah, I have a 7700K, which is practically the same as yours, and it also told me that my CPU sucks. I think this might be the experience that has convinced me it's time.
It is, yeah. Like Watchdogs Legion may be the game that says it's time to maybe go invest in new computer stuff. Because like the interesting thing, well, the weird thing about the benchmark is it's set like in a mostly indoor area flying through it. But most of the issues that I've had with the frame rate have been out in the open world driving around. Like those kind of larger areas have not looked great frame rate wise. But I turned down reflection. I think I set the ray tracing down to its lowest setting, medium, or whatever isn't fully off. You can turn it all the way off, obviously. And then I think I had to turn down. Oh, you know what? I'm running it at 1080. That was actually the thing I did. Is I'm not running it because I have it hooked up to this 4K TV, and it was just like fuck no. And so busting it down to 1080 because that's usually how we end up capturing most stuff anyway for the site. Is just like that obviously helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
And someone just said probably needs a day one patch. I can confirm this is running their day one patch. They sent that out early to us for those purposes. Yeah. So I assume there will be a day 5, but they will potentially do some more work with it. I think even the I ran into some issues with the Xbox version of the game stability wise that I don't know if that will end up being the full experience that people have, but they did say that their day 1 patch had already been rolled out and applied. So we will see on that one.
I am very excited to see the benchmarks from hardware sites on those new AMD chips, which should be soon.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, for sure. I had been thinking about it already, and having that benchmark just straight up, you can go over to the impact tab of the benchmark, and it just says like, "Here's your problem. It's your fucking CPU." And you're like, fuck. That's ice cold, Watchdogs. That's ice fucking cold.
Well, found your problem.
Yeah. Well, here's a problem. This thing's like a decade old or something. Yeah. Blow the dust off this thing. What are you doing? So time to get a 3090 and brand new CPU, I guess.
3080 is plenty.
But what if I got a can't get either. Like it's all theoretical anyway. Neither of them are going to be anywhere anytime. So
sure, yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah. All right. Break. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Jason, you played Immortals? Speaking of Ubisoft open world games, that's what they're calling it this month, right?
Yeah, this month. Yeah, essentially. I get to play quite a bit of that game, like 4 hours of that game. Oh boy, there was a lot of game there.
Immortals Fenyx Rising, that's the full name, right?
Yeah, and you play as Phoenix. She is abandoned on the shore after a shipwreck, and she's found that all of her friends have been turned to stone, and you need to find a way to turn them to not stone.
As might happen in ancient mythological Greece.
Yeah, that always happen. Gorgons and Medusas, and they all the like. They all make an appearance at some point. It's heavily steeped in Greek mythology and such. The game itself is narrated by both Prometheus and Zeus, who have a dynamic kind of like, I said it in the video that it has the tone of like the opening of a Borderlands game. when Marcus is like doing the narration and stuff, and there's like a kid in the background going boring, and then oh jeez, it's the humor did not land with me. There were a lot of outdated jokes and just like ill-timed stuff. I don't know. It was oh boy. But the game itself is pretty all right. Like it's very basic. You know, you've got a light and a heavy attack. It doesn't get too crazy with like, you know, air juggles or anything like that. But basically, your main attack is your light attack. If you come across enemies that have like a stamina bar, you can whittle down their stamina with like a heavy attack, like if they've got a shield or something, and then stun them. And then you've also got some magic attacks that you unlock throughout the course of the game. For traversal and like, you know, puzzle solving, because this is very heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild. You know, you're going to be, you know, doing the you know, the gliding to reach places, but then there's also those dungeons where there's a lot of like physics based puzzle solving.
Wait, do you mean literally like short little dungeons in large quantities, just like Breath of the Wild?
Absolutely, sir. Yes.
Like, they're not resisting the urge to just ask you, hey, how Breath of the Wild is this game? But
pretty damn Breath of the Wild,
that's
man.
not the worst.
Yeah,
so it's like a bad Genshin Impact is what I'm hearing.
I think it might be better than Genshin Impact.
Wow. So it's like a Game of the Year contender then. Holy shit. Yeah. All right.
But you're able to like pick up boulders and stuff like that with these bracers that you get. You also get, you know, wings for gliding. That's mostly it. You've got a Breath of the Wild combined with Assassin's Creed. There's definitely that DNA in there. Like, you know, you'll be able to navigate the inventory screen just like, you know, you do in Assassin's Creed. You know,
is it full on just climb on anything and you've got a little radial stamina meter?
Yes, sir. Yes, okay. The stamina bar is there, but there's no weapon degradation. That's something.
Okay.
But I think it looks pretty good. You know, it's a really like colorful, like vibrant world, and it's actually pretty nice. Like, you know, when you climb up on a tower or something like that, and you do the you know the look around, and it's like, yeah, I can go to that area, and it looks pretty cool. There's like 6 main areas. We only got to see the one. We saw a couple others in the distance in the video. Overall, it's fine. Like, you know, the combat is okay. There's a couple, you know, things that I can get later on to make the combat a little more exciting, like the spells, or with those bracers, I can actually attach myself to an enemy and like zip up to it. You know, if it's like a harpy or something like that, that's kind of cool. That's fun.
Have you played much of the modern Assassin's Creeds, the like Odyssey and Origins?
Yeah, a little bit.
How does the combat compare to like those?
It's pretty similar. Yeah. In fact, yeah, the team that made this, or Ubisoft Quebec, who did Odyssey, I think. Yeah. And yeah, it shows in this game. So you'll be right at home, I think.
Okay, then. That's December, right? December 3rd, I think, or December 9th, I forget. But there's actually a demo out right now if you want to play it on Stadia. They have an exclusive demo. All you need is a Gmail account. Give it a shot. I was able to play it on my computer like within 30 seconds. It was kind of cool, but
my Gmail account has a lot of letters. I don't know if it's worth typing all of them out.
Yeah, you might be right. Overall, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I'm looking forward to playing through that beginning portion again. So I don't know how much of that game I'll be playing. I'm also one of the weirdos that didn't like Breath of the Wild too terribly much, but most of it was due to the weapon degradation stuff. Fair. So that's not here. So there's that.
All right. That's fair. That game. I bet that game is going to benefit from being right in that window where people are going to be hungry for new console stuff.
Totally, yeah. And
Like,
it's coming out across the board.
Like 3 weeks after they come out, and people are going to get their initial launch games and then be like, all right, now what? And then here it is.
Is that's this year?
Yeah, that's
December.
that's-
What did you say? December 3rd?
December.
I think you said.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And yeah, it's across the board. It's on current gen and next gen. It's on Switch. It's on PC. It's on
As
Stadia.
almost everything, I guess.
Yeah,
Except
pretty
for
much.
I'm afraid to say this for fear of getting it wrong. Is Demon Souls the only? No.
The only what?
Sackboy is also exclusive, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think across both consoles, like how many games are just on the new consoles. Like that's all I can think of.
Yeah.
And I think Sackboy actually.
Yes, chat.
Also
chat,
PS4,
chat
right?
says Sackboy is in fact
Oh,
on
sure.
PS4. So
Astro's Playroom.
Astro's Playroom. Yeah. At least Cooling Springs. I mean,
At least Cooling
we'll
Springs
see if
we
the
think
rest
that,
of the other levels could. Who knows?
Yeah.
Where they
say.
run.
Yeah.
Jason, you mentioned Mario Kart Live real quick. Did you pick up
Yeah,
one
I
of
got
those
that
things?
for my son for his
Yeah.
5th birthday. That was his big present that
Nice.
he really, really wanted.
Okay.
And he got it, and he was very excited. And we immediately set it up, and it was super cool. Like as soon as we set the thing down and turned it on, and we got like that worm's eye view of like our apartment and stuff. It was really cool. Like doing the exploring around, just driving. You've really got to be within like 15 feet of that thing, otherwise it starts clunking up. And we don't have the space here, and we've got a lot of carpeting. So I'm like, let's just take this rig outside. All right. We've got a nice cemented area. Everything's all flat. We just make a course around the picnic table. We're good to go. And so we set up all the gates and stuff. I don't know if Jan talked about it last week at all, but you just set up those gates and you've got to chart a course essentially. But as soon as we turn it on, it was nothing but white on the screen, and then Mario, the camera was completely blown out, like it's doing an auto exposure thing.
And it can't adjust
So
itself.
it cannot adjust
wow.
itself. So yeah, we were unable to play basically.
Not suitable for use outdoors.
Yeah, in direct sunlight for sure. Like I know that you have a hard time seeing like the Switch screen in direct sunlight, but this was not that. This was definitely the camera, because what we did. My wife had the idea of attaching like a sunglass lens over the top of the the front of the camera. That actually worked.
Oh,
Wow.
We could, and we could see it. So we just taped it around the damn thing.
it's not bad.
Yeah, and then it played all right. It was fine, but it was just a bummer. I think overall that you can't use it outside. I know it's not recommended, but we read the manual and they're like, don't use it outside because it could get dirty. They didn't say anything about not being able to see anything. We still use it in explore mode, and he just bumps into our feet an awful lot, which is fun.
That is pretty cool.
It is. Yeah, it's a cool toy, I think, but it's a shame that they can't accommodate for that.
Well, it's it's
for
getting
that
darker
being outside.
earlier and earlier.
That's right.
Every
True.
day.
You just got to get out there for
Every
dusk.
day.
Get out there for dusk every day. Like got to get that hour, that window. That's Mario time.
Yeah, the Mario time, the Mario hour.
Yep, that's right. The Mario hour.
But yeah, it's a bummer, for people like me that don't have a lot of room in their house to set up a track.
How did it handle the carpet? Was it able to at least like move it? Is it able to move it all on the carpet?
Yeah, we've got kind of a big shaggy carpet here too, and if you get enough momentum, it'll go over it.
Cool.
Totally. Yeah. You can't like start it on the carpet because it won't get enough traction.
Yeah.
Yep. But
I hear
but otherwise, handles all right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, Ben. Before we get to news, you want to give us a Jackbox update?
Box.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting burnt out on Hades. Haven't found quite the new game to replace it yet. But the new Jackbox is out. We played a little bit of it. 7 on last Friday. It was it's a pretty good. the most fun as a whole I've had with Jackbox in some time.
Love a fun hole.
It's got at least 4 fun holes in it.
All right.
There's a new Quiplash, and they actually made the last round of Quiplash good, which is a great first move for them. And then there's there's 5 games. 4 of them I think are really solid. One of them is kind of a whiff. There's kind of a spiritual successor to TKO in there, where you like doodle little superhero guys and they fight each other. If you're watching live, you'll see the chat has some fucking Abby's creativity really flowed on that video. I highly suggest y'all check it out. I don't know. It's interesting because this is the first Jackbox that has been released since quarantine has started, right? And one would imagine that a lot of people are hankering for a new Jackbox or a new just something to play with other people because you can't be in the same room anymore. And I feel like only one of them really would benefit from like being in the same room with other people. In the past, like there have been those games like Split the Room and other stuff where it's like you definitely want to be with other people, but these all very much seem like they were designed. They've probably been working on this since before quarantine. One would have to imagine.
Yeah.
But these all seem really intelligently designed in a way that you can enjoy them over Discord or whatever with everyone else. There, not much to say. There's a presentation giving game which is really fun. I wish I could remember the name of it right now, but basically it's like you're giving like a TED Talk, except the slides that are being prepared are chosen by your assistant and you have no idea what's coming next. You just kind of know the name of what your TED Talk is going to be. And there's somebody else just like throwing up pictures and walls of text and stuff. And so you kind of got to like take it and go on the fly. It definitely feels the most like improv-y that Jackbox has been.
Most performative, right?
Yeah. The last one, it really reminds me of the invention one where you have to like kind of like come up with a blueprint for something and then pitch it. And then there's one that's kind of like you're like doing a lot of little mini games. It's kind of Among Us-y where you're doing a lot of little mini games, but then you can do mini games that only give yourself points versus the team. I don't know. It's just a really solid pack. I think if you kind of checked out of Jackbox recently, this is probably a good one to dip back into. I feel like Quiplash is always like a crowd pleaser. It's really easy to get anyone to play Quiplash. It's just like, just come up with like fill in the funny blank. It's like super easy and approachable, and then you kind of get into the little more complex ones. Like I said, we have I think we called it a quick look live or something up. And we go through all of them there, you get a really good sense of it.
Cool.
They just crank those things out.
They don't like they keep making them, but it's like at the same time, I don't know. It's been when did Jackbox 6 come out?
I'm not saying they're not warranted. Like they're still good, honestly. Yeah. Like as long as people want to play them, that's totally fine.
I am what Ben was talking about, the person who kind of checked out of Jackbox like 3 or 4 games ago, except for like TKO. I thought TKO was brilliant, and the rapping one was at least like sort of fun.
Those are probably the 2 best ones they've ever done.
I think like but those are the 2 standout weird ones of them. Like the Quiplash is solid. Like the core Jackbox games, I think in the early days were totally all right. Also, they're just not flashy.
Yeah, they kind of hit like around 3 or 4. They kind of upped their game, and it turned from like it's just all text, like fill in the blank, come up with a sentence here, to like a little more visual. But like, which is interesting because Drawful was their first thing, right? Like along these modern kind of like party games. Like,
I guess so. I don't actually. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure I remember playing Drawful as an intern, maybe even back with y'all. But yeah, they're so fucking well polished too. Is another thing that I really appreciate. Every game has a really distinct, unique visual style. Some of them are like. There's one that's kind of like like early Nickelodeon animation thing for like this like demon family, and then the other one, the like talking points PowerPoint one, is like very like weird alt art, kind of just like a lot of 3D objects and stuff like that. It's just really, these games are are like some of the most well polished games because they're so simple. They can really pour a lot of time and into the fine details of them.
All right,
Cool.
Why am I forgetting the name of the developer?
It's
Jackbox
Games.
Jackbox
Right?
Games. Is that what they are now? Have they always been that? I don't know.
They were Jellyvision.
Jellyvision, right?
At one point.
Jellyvision. Yes, of course. We didn't know.
Cookie,
that.
I will say, I don't know how to refer to them, but Cookie Masterson is in the game as a voice, obviously doing one of the games. Kind of starting to sound a little old.
Oh no!
Kind of a little more rasp, a little more.
cookie's crumbling.
Still great, like still excellent. One of the best voice actors in the game, but like you can hear it. You can be like, they're getting up there.
Hey, 2020 has been rough on all of us.
Oh, I
Man,
know.
I just looked up and now know the real name of Cookie Masterson, and I wish I didn't.
No.
Mookie Casterson.
That's you got
That's the one.
it. Uh
Professional caster.
huh. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get into some news for the week. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, you might notice a faint yellow glow across my face because I have a giant full screen JPEG that is yellow with black text on it from Twitter. That's right. It's another Cyberpunk 2077
Halo's
delay.
delayed. Wait, what? Cyberpunk?
They delayed Halo.
No way.
It's supposed to be out next week.
And also Cyberpunk 2077.
God.
Can you guys think of another game that has been delayed, A, this many times, and B, so close to its release?
Didn't one of the GTAs get pushed back a zillion times? And
Probably.
I don't remember which one it was, but
People
there
in the
was
chat saying Duke Nukem Forever, that doesn't count. A game
that doesn't-
completely
that doesn't-
dying
that
is
does
not the
not
same
count.
as getting delayed.
That does not count. It's only a 3-week delay this time only.
it's a 3-week delay of the game after it went gold.
Yes. The game went gold like what, 2-3 weeks ago or something. And I've seen more than a few people on Twitter talking about taking the day and the day after off of work or more around the initial release date, which is now invalid. So
Never do that.
yeah. Or at least wait until as close as humanly possible to the release date. I mean, they address.
Once they go gold, like that's usually a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, you would think they address that in this message. They say passing certification or going gold means the game is ready, can be completed, and has all content in it. But it doesn't mean we stop working on it and raising the quality bar. On the contrary, this is the time where many improvements are being made, which will be distributed by day 0 patch. This is the time period.
0 day.
Yes, right. They're everywhere.
The other Cyberpunk game hacked this one.
So they essentially say that time period after going gold but before release to get a day 1 patch out is what they underestimated needing time for, so they're taking an extra 3 weeks for that.
Boy, what does that say about the quality of the game that's on that disc?
Right.
That they're like, we can't just ship it like this and have no day 1 patch and have that patch come out 3 weeks later.
Right.
Not an option. Like they're basically saying what's on the disc must be like, what is everyone just fully NBA elite T-pose over and over
Right,
again? Like what the fuck's going on? Like that's crazy.
And how big is that day 1 patch going to end up being because of that?
Right. Yeah.
So it's December 10th now. It was it November 17th previously, I think. Is that right? That sounds right.
Sure. I don't know.
Let's say something like that. 19th. Something of that nature. It was right before Thanksgiving, I think. And now it is 10th of December, which is about as late as it could be and still be this year.
Well, could be December 12th. Could be December
Am I making
17th.
He said about.
Am I making it up that they kind of made a big deal recently about the fact that they're never going to have to delay it again?
Yeah.
Like the last time.
There's like a lot of people posting screenshots on Twitter from like yesterday of the Cyberpunk Twitter account going like, no more delays.
Yes.
Because no one told the social person that this was even on the table.
That's the first person you need to tell in 2020. They're on the front lines of your cyber war. They need to know with them so they can be ready with the counter memes. You know, you got to be thinking ahead.
That's right. To hear Jason Schreier tell it this morning, nobody at the studio knew about this delay except for the management until today. So
Wow.
Okay, well there you go. And you know, like if the game's not ready, the game's not ready, right? What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
except
right.
Except make the game. Like if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. I think the way they're doing it with these 100-hour work weeks and all this other stuff. Doesn't sound
Cyber
fucking great.
crunch.
But like I think like more interesting. Well, not more interestingly. I mean, people are fucking going crazy working on this thing. But yeah, I just like, what state is that game gonna actually be in when it finally comes out? Like this just seems like it is coming in beyond hot. And I'm really curious to see how that manifests in some, if that's something that impacts some versions of the game more than others, or something where they're just like, this Xbox, try running on an Xbox One S and it burst into flames.
Yeah, actually, I should mention that they touch on that in this statement. They say the biggest challenge for us right now is shipping the game on current gen, next gen, and PC at the same time, which requires us to prepare and test 9 versions.
It's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of work to do with unreleased hardware that, from working from home. Like you look at it, like it makes sense when you think about where the world is right now and what they're trying to pull off with all those different versions of the game and all that sort of stuff.
I've got them here. I'll just list them out. Xbox One and Xbox One X, compatibility on Xbox Series S and X, PS4 and PS4 Pro, compatibility on PS5, PC, and Stadia.
So it's not even their like next gen patched version.
Oh,
that's not happened. Yeah. So
it's a lot.
I wonder how much actual work they have to do to make their PS4 game run on PS5, because that is supposed to just, it's not automatic, but I would be curious to know like how much actual additional work is on the devs. Because if it was the case that it was actually really hard to do that, then all these PS4 games that were going to be coming forward to PS5, developers would probably have to do a lot of work to make that work, right?
Yes.
Like that's
to be fair, and I mean a developer can correct me, but development work is not the same as QA work. Like even if
fair enough, yeah,
even if that build largely just works on that platform, they still have to test it separately to make sure, right?
Yeah, I guess in my head that's like something Sony is helping out on or something, because they are gonna know the ins and outs of the PS5 a lot better than any external dev is right now.
The Microsoft's Xbox press conferences sure had a lot of Cyberpunk trailers.
Fair point. It's in no one's best interest to ship a bad version of that game, especially on a new console. So I don't know. That's I guess like not surprising in some weird way. I mean, when you read into it and they're like, the game is being pressed to disc right now, but we're pushing it back anyway, and it's not a distribution issue, like that's fucking wild. But at the same time, like, hey, we're delaying Cyberpunk again. I'm definitely like, okay, sure you are. Of course you are.
Yeah.
What do you
in
think
some weird way?
What does that mean for if discs are being manufactured now? Like, discs always get out there, right? These days. Like somebody in Dubai is going to open a crate of those things or something.
There's like, yes, someone will find a truck of these and do something. Maybe. I don't know.
What if somebody gets a hold of like the disc next week or something? And like that
right.
is still.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's certainly possible, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Will anyone here put money on this game being delayed again?
Nope. I would put no money on that. I have no idea.
I personally,
the odds were good enough. I would put money on that.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's not impossible, but I don't expect it again.
Right. This seems like you think they will make this new date.
This is already the one more than they should have done situation.
Yeah.
To go beyond
I might say it's maybe 2 more.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is like they literally said they were done.
Yeah. I don't know. That is a game that I think like 3 delays ago I was just like checked out. I was just like, okay, that game looked interesting, and when I'm holding it in my hand, I will maybe get excited for Cyberpunk. But until then, like whatever, just get it done.
I still super want to play it, but I don't.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not saying I'm not like.
And honestly, every trailer they've put out since, like the gangs one, and it's just made me not less excited. Not like actively like not looking forward to it, because I still like I talked about this somewhere recently on video, but like cyberpunk is one of my favorite genres. Like I'm a huge fan of the atmosphere. I think this game has a really like, even if it's not a fun game, just being able to run around in a cool cyberpunk city might be enough for me to get my kicks out of it. But like, man, the closer and closer it gets, just the less and less interested I am. I don't know.
Weird. I'm the opposite. I'm getting more and more excited. Like I've been watching the dev diaries and stuff. This is my most anticipated game this year. So I'm a little disappointed by the delay just because of selfish reasons, but I want it to be as good as possible. Of course, I think everyone does, but man, I cannot wait for this game. Holy shit.
I think, and what must it be like to be working on that game?
Oh yeah,
and have this happen, especially if like that was a management decision that the team wasn't aware of until it happened. But then on top of that, I mean, so that means they've got more time to work on their patch. But aren't they also just staring down the barrel of their post-release content and all the other stuff that they intend to do with that game, whether that's optimizing for the new platforms or whatever content they are releasing? I know they've put out like, hey, they have put out something like maybe not a roadmap, right? But there is some kind of form of here's what our post-release plans are, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you wonder if they're breathing a sigh of relief, but probably not, because it probably means 3 more weeks of heavy crunch.
Totally, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is delays don't mean everyone goes like, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
it means like everyone is now locked in
for longer.
Some interesting tweets going around this morning. A senior member of the team working on the game, who I won't name, said, "Even I'm starting to think this game isn't real, and I'm playing it right now."
Yeah. It's weird. It is, but weird. Yeah, like they're gonna go on to make DLC and make whatever other stuff that they're making for that game, and like now if they want to hit whatever that timeline was, then now they're behind even further on that. Do they try to make up the time, or do they push all that stuff back to? Hopefully, yeah. But like, this is already a studio that's kind of been crunching all year or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think if I remember, I think the Witcher 3 DLC was like a good long while after the initial game came out. So anyway,
how long did it take them to fix Witcher 3 when it launched? Like the movement stuff, like that was kind of the.
I feel like the movement changed maybe in the first month of release, or shortly after that, maybe for 6 weeks, something like that. I remember that got patched pretty quickly.
Yeah. All right then.
Yeah. Okay. Before that happened this morning, that was not the delay that I was going to lead with on the news here, but Sony and who is making Destruction All-Stars? Who's the actual developer on that game? Is it a Sony internal studio?
I believe it is. Yeah, it's. Okay. Let me look that up.
At any rate, Destruction All-Stars was one of the handful of first-party PS5 launch games. It has been pushed to February of next year.
Okay,
so
it's probably smart because it's coming out on PlayStation Plus, so it's following
that was part of this news actually.
Yeah, so it's kind of following the Rocket League formula, I guess, which is smart, but it's strange. Yeah, that people had pre-ordered this game. I don't know who pre-ordered this game, but they're going to get refunded, I guess. And
Lucid Games Limited is the developer. Okay. They are apparently, according to their Twitter account, the developers of Geometry Wars 3.
What? Oh man! Oh boy! How deep does this conspiracy go?
Yeah, all the way to the top and the bottom.
I guess so.
So this was the game that like we were talking about maybe it was like a month ago when we started looking at what the day one games were, and like it was like they hadn't really shown much of it, and it looked like maybe it would be okay, but then you look at the retail sites and they're saying like this thing that looks like it should maybe, like you said, like in that kind of Rocket League-y kind of vein, they're trying to charge $70 for it.
Yeah.
And like at the time that seemed fucking crazy. Or it's whatever, like knowing very little about the game and looking at it and feeling like, hey, this thing seems like it falls into a weird free-to-play multiplayer focused thing.
Right. The same way buy a battle pass, maybe.
X, and like that. It just looked like more like that kind of game. And to me, this is them saying, "Yeah, you're probably right. Let's push it back and do that." And I would assume that part of them pushing it back is to retrofit it to be something that is. Well, I don't know. I guess they're saying it's going to be free for 2 months, right? It'll be in PlayStation Plus for 2 months, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be $70 on the other side of that. I'll be curious to see if if they stick to that price on the other side of its time in Plus.
Maybe they're going to retool the offering to bring the price point down and like get people in the door more easily, because like a multiplayer focused game lives and dies by its community. So
exactly, yeah, and maybe they just looked at metrics and were like, hey. No one is talking about or interested in like very few people are talking about this game, and it doesn't seem like we're going to attract an audience at this current rate. So maybe it was some delay around that. I don't actually know. Let's see. They did. No, this is just a link to. Okay, they're going to say more about the game next week, I guess. Okay. But they have. They've just said, hey, we're going to push it back to February and refund everybody who pre-ordered it.
I can't confirm this, but some people in chat said that some people who pre-ordered PS5s in a bundle with that game are getting their whole pre-order canceled.
Oh,
because
no.
the game is not coming out anymore. Which, if true, is a real shitty thing to happen.
Yup.
I looked up Lucid Games just now. I guess it's a lot of ex-Bizarre Creations people.
Okay.
That they recruited a lot of that talent.
That's a studio that could make a fun car game.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Hey.
Absolutely. But more than anything, like this is notable just because there weren't that
now
many.
Chat is saying that everything that Chat was saying before about the bundle stuff getting canceled is wrong.
Like I said, we don't know for sure. That's just some word going around, but who can say? But like the big reason this is notable is that there were half a dozen first-party PS5 games at launch or something like that.
That's just one less now. Yeah,
and now there's one less. So
that's Spider-Man. That's Astro's Playroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's Demon Souls.
Yep.
That's
Sackboy.
And Destruction All-Stars. Was that it? Was it 5?
That might be right.
From kind of first-party-ish. I'm not saying on other platforms, PS4 or whatever. I mean, just like new games coming out on around launch.
I believe that is correct.
Okay.
Unless you count, Spider-Man Remastered, technically.
I don't.
Yeah. I think that's it for first party. So, there's a decent handful of third-party games as well. So, not like there's nothing to play at launch, but.
Cooling Springs level of Astro's Playroom.
Seems cool. Cooling Springs is pretty hot.
Yeah.
It turns out. Okay. This is a weird story. Not 100% sure how to take this, but some PS4 first-party games are getting patched as of the last couple of days, and seeing their loading times reduced by insane margins. Like Last of Us 2 is a good example, where it has taken a patch recently where in some cases loading times have been reduced to a tenth of what they were before.
Huh.
Last of Us 2 or Last of Us Remastered?
No, part 2, the
really?
one that just came out a few months ago. Some people clocked specifically.
The story you linked is about Remastered.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I may have misread.
Yeah, patch 1.11 for Last of Us Remastered.
Okay. This has it going from a minute 30 to 13 seconds.
Okay, I had seen some people saying it was part 2. I may have mixed those things up. But Until Dawn is another one where people are saying Until Dawn essentially barely has loading at all anymore.
So you're saying the main feature of the next generation of consoles is something they could have patched in all along?
Maybe there's some libraries or something that are trickling back down to the previous console. That like some people pointing back to Ghost of Tsushima from July, which if you played that game, that thing has incredibly short loading times.
Yeah,
and did at launch. So
I like that this was found out by a speedrunner. It says in the story that he was like, man, I saved 18 seconds on the David fight in Last of Us. 18 seconds.
just turned out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with that stuff. I don't know what bearing that may have on PS5 and software stuff, but kind of
I mean, that's cool if they're gonna continue to optimize older games to load even better, or if they've got weird bottlenecks that they can get around that benefits PS4 owners while also kind of getting it ready for PS5 or something. I'm not sure if that's the situation, but seems like it.
Yeah. I think I alluded to this earlier, but Phil Spencer out there at FanFest the other day.
A live stream they were running.
Yes. Basically teasing something like the return of 1 versus 100. Talking about
Tease me, Phil.
Yeah, he didn't come out and say it, but maybe we should even be building our own trivia game like from our past that allows people to play a trivia game more often. Maybe that could happen.
Well, I guess the context here is that they were supposed to have a trivia quiz on their live stream and it broke.
Okay.
So this is him kind of stretching to Phil as I understand it, is like, hey, if this thing isn't working, they're kind of just like doing a little dance while they move around the broken website quiz that they wanted to do. So this wasn't necessarily like point blank interview question. What do you think about HQ? Don't you think you should bring 1 versus 100 back? What are you even doing? Now hear my pitch about Geometry Wars. But yeah, they should do that.
They should do that.
Yeah.
They should do that.
Should they do it with Chris Cashman?
Why not?
I'm just, looks like Chris Cashman hasn't been too busy. He looks like he's moved into production, producing a lot of shorts and TV stuff. So I feel like he probably has the time,
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
What's Scott Rogowski doing?
Yeah, I was gonna say
not to just like
Chris Cashman.
push Chris Cashman out.
Chris Cashman did not go on to host his own baseball show. So
yeah.
World Series is almost over.
I don't know, man. Is that maybe a little too on the nose to put Scott on the front of a new 1 versus 100?
No way. They do that shit all the time. They like.
Here's Howie Mandel hosting a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you could do that. I
would take Scott Rogowski over Howie Mandel any day.
Oh yeah,
1,000%.
Nothing against Howie Mandel.
I don't know. How does Scott Rogowski look with a inflatable glove blown up and put over his head? That's my question.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of my dream casting for a new 1 versus 100.
Who plays the 1? Who plays the 100? All these questions.
Yes. They should get weird with the Xbox again.
Give me Paul Giamatti.
There was sure
hosting 1 versus 100.
Just with a glass of Merlot in hand at all times.
Yeah, he really is over. Like he has this whole air of superiority about the whole thing, but it works.
Sure, fair. Yeah, man, I miss that weird era of the Xbox 360, and they should get back to some of that stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think that's they lost some of the fun along the way through the Xbox One. I think there's another Phil Spencer interview where he kind of talked about like the late period 360 into Xbox One, that maybe they kind of lost their way a little bit on. That's not the exact quote, but but that they kind of fell away from some of their franchises and kind of made some calls on some of that stuff.
Not even just franchises, but like just the vibe of the whole platform got a little slick and buttoned up,
Yeah.
And not.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I mean, I would not call much about the Xbox One at launch slick or buttoned up.
Well, no, but that's the kind of tone they were going for.
Yeah.
This very like sleek, all-in-one kind of thing, as opposed to the platform that brought you Sneak King.
Yeah.
And like dumbass gamer pictures and Generation Remix.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely like the fun somehow fell out of it.
Yes.
For sure.
I have not seen a running Xbox Series X dashboard lately, but have you turned on your Xbox One or Xbox One X lately and noticed that they updated the dashboard of that thing to look exactly like the videos I've seen of the Series X?
They did that a while. Yeah, they've been
how long
that
a while ago.
Stuff they rolled out into preview, I think, a while ago. But yeah, they made a lot of changes to. I think we talked about it a while ago, but like the My Games and Apps stuff has been rebuilt in a few different ways over the last year probably, but the store has been replaced and a lot of that stuff. There's been updates on the Windows 10 Xbox stuff and the Xbox app for phones, which they're saying like, hey, you can set up your new console from a phone, and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's got a real unified product line vibe to it.
Like they seem like they're just trying to get as close to like one-to-one kind of continuity from old Xbox to new Xbox as possible, right? On the interface.
Like old iPhone to new iPhone.
Right. Yes, it's literally just like iOS is iOS everywhere you go. Like, a few features might change, but it looks like it looks.
It's kind of disappointing. Like I kind of want like a new UI for my new console.
Well, they just refresh it on those platforms too, so it is kind of new.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. Like there's like you spend all this money, you want to feel like a flashy thing, for sure. We'll have more to say about console UIs.
Oh.
In the future.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Kojima Productions has gotten out there and confirmed they are working on a new game, and they are hiring.
You don't say.
They are hiring avidly for it.
The best of the best will do.
Any hints
Only
in the hiring as to what is it like? You should be good at making trivia games that involve 101 player, anything like that.
Yeah,
or
I'm trying to pull their job listings back up. I looked at it the other day. It is not loading right now.
Yeah, is this going to be another
They
Strand
need a
game?
web developer.
It was a lot
or
of.
will this be a horror game? Will this be them saying like, fine, we will make RPT over here instead?
Sure. Okay. Here we go. All the positions are in Tokyo. They are hiring programmers, artists, game design, sound design, writer, project manager, producer / other. Or any of you.
I fit the bill for other.
Yeah, any of those. Okay, sure.
Hideo Kojima said, "I can write it. Why are we hiring a writer?"
Oh, the job descriptions are all in Japanese, so probably.
Do you see anything that says the number 100 and then the number 1 in there at all?
Sadly, no, not that I could find.
Okay.
But I would assume if there were any actual hints as to what they were doing in there, somebody would have
probably
translated and posted that stuff. There was some kind of hints that they might be working on a horror game a while back.
Right. Yeah.
Stuff was kind of unsubstantiated, but that might be a guess. What should he do?
I'm trying to think what I would want.
What do you think he should do next?
What should Kojima do next?
Keep being weird, man.
Well, whatever. I mean, he's got to predict the future again because he nailed it so perfectly with Death Stranding. So
Yes,
whatever it is, we need to
and MGS2 for that.
and MGS2.
Right.
It's a moon colony simulator.
Okay.
In 1 week, the president's going to be fighting on top of Wall Street in a Dr. Octopus suit, and none of us are going to be laughing.
Nope.
We're all going to be applauding Hideo Kojima.
His vision comes through once again.
Is that why I wanted that truck?
I guess there's no requirement that this is something Sony's involved with, right? That was a one game deal, wasn't it?
I mean, I don't know the specifics of that deal, but I don't, they are not a Sony owned studio.
Right. Like this could be for anybody, right? Or on anything.
Yeah,
I would guess.
They have it's a contract gig for a company called Konami to make a stealth pachinko machine.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a cardboard box, but it's got the thing on it, and then you turn it, and the balls come out.
Yeah.
Has Kojima been obsessively tweeting about any celebrities that he has like a crush on? Because that we can, look to them to be in the next game.
Yeah.
Wait, has he ever done that before?
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen was like
the list kind of goes on.
Fair.
The cast of Death Stranding and
Kinda,
Metal Gear before that, and
Ubisoft is consolidating all of its kind of meta layer kind of player services. They're your Uplays and your Ubisoft clubs and so forth under a new banner called Ubisoft Connect.
So like motion, would I just do this to load my saves?
That's right. You can just hold your skateboard up and it'll put it right there in the game.
Oh wow, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it'll be great.
This is the hidden thing in here that I saw from Ubisoft's Eric Pope was that they are bringing cross-platform progression to their game.
That is 100% the interesting thing about this. Like a
Yeah.
publisher doing that for all of their games under this unified service is like kind of wild.
I feel like this is cool to a select group of people who review games and play them on multiple platforms.
That is a fair point.
But also, if you are, but the real thing is if you are subscribed to their Uplay Plus or Ubisoft Plus, whatever the hell it's called now, they are, I guess, going to give you access to the Stadia versions of those games there too. So in addition to the PC, you could potentially play on Stadia, and then also that will be the way you will play it on Amazon Luna.
Okay, yeah, because they are the first add-on channel for Luna as well, right?
Right. So it's like if you're already paying the $15 a month to Ubisoft for that, and you are a Luna player, you will be able to play those games there. So that's where that cross progression actually becomes like meaningful for more than just us. I will say I'm very excited about this, but it is not currently the menus are there in Watchdogs, but it's not currently up and running.
Yeah.
So I played on Xbox for a while, and then when I switched to PC, I did have to start over. I was like, man. But that's something that people will not have to do.
Yeah. Seems like it's
coming
coming
you do not have to pay for a Stadia sub for that sort of stuff. That is not a Stadia Pro feature.
That's cool. That's cool. Seems like this is coming pretty soon. They are teasing Ubisoft Connect in the Uplay client on PC pretty hard.
Yeah, and this is like they have also, I guess, gone and unlocked all of the club. Remember, they were like, "Hey, your club points are going to expire." Turns out they just said, "Oh, and we unlocked everything that was a club reward from all those old games that aren't coming over to this."
So that stuff all just becomes free, I think, next time you log into those games, which is kind of cool. And we should mention this cross-platform progression stuff is only for new games going forward. Of course, does not roll back retroactively, but. It's still pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I wonder if we see any other. I mean, they've always been like kind of ahead of the pack on like running this kind of player loyalty stuff. Like I don't know if necessarily see other companies building out an infrastructure like this extensively, but
I had a conversation. I want to say, God damn, this had to have been 8 years ago or something now. That EA was like researching doing this exact thing. With like, hey, what if you paid a subscription and got access to our games, but also, even if you bought the games, what if your saves and progression just moved across all different versions of the game? Like that was something that they people have been thinking about that stuff for a long time, I guess is the point there. And now it seems like services and also like the platform holders have evolved in their thinking in a way that probably makes this stuff a lot more possible than it would have been then. That's awesome. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that was like a couple of days before I was set to start playing Watchdogs, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, that's great. But yeah,
not quite yet. But
well, whatever. I mean, when it comes time for me to check out, like, I don't know, the Xbox Series X version of that game, I'll now be able to take my PC save because eventually servers will turn on when the game is out and all that stuff, and be able to just pipe it right over. And that's fucking awesome.
Yes, that is super cool. That is super cool. I hope we see more of that stuff. Stadia, since you mentioned it. Just want to talk about this Alex Hutchinson thing from last week. It happened.
No.
It happened. What? Okay.
So you got to do the setup. We can't just get into it. People at home might not know how it happened here.
Yes.
So
he is the creative director at a Montreal studio owned by Google now.
The developers of Journey to the Savage Planet. They acquired that studio.
Yes, after that game came out, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad game. Like, I enjoyed my time with that thing.
Which until the stuff we're about to get into happened, his Twitter bio just said creative director at Stadia.
Yes.
Or creative director at Google Stadia, or basically something like that. Yeah. Which I thought meant he had left that developer and gone to work on the Central Stadia stuff. When I read it, I was like, I didn't know that.
Yes, that's how that read.
That had it read, but it was not the case. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Whatever. He got out on Twitter and did the whole streamers should be paying royalties to the people who make the games they are streaming thing.
Yeah.
And then doubled down on it in a way that kind of forced Google proper to distance themselves.
I think it's really it's whatever. Everyone's going to have their own views on stuff, right? But I think it's pretty wild to say creative director at Google Stadia.
Yeah, that's kind of why this is a big deal, because it
a platform where they did announce that they were going to have very tightly integrated streaming features to YouTube, but that they still have not rolled out. The idea of being like a low touch, one touch, like now you're streaming type of service, that is literally the platform you were making games for. To have this take, to then have this take in a world where the rest of the industry thought about this stuff years ago and moved away from it in favor of what if we actually just used it as marketing and started paying people, please stream our game. We will pay you thousands of dollars, popular streamer, to stream this game. It's pretty out of touch.
Yes.
I don't know if I have anything else to say about it other than like it does not represent where gaming is.
Yes. Or where Google is.
Right now. Or Google, especially not where his employer is.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the actual point here, right? Like in a world where his Twitter bio was more clear about like where he is and what he does, we probably wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah.
But the entirety of social media took this to be a statement by Google or by the Stadia department.
Yeah, it was dude tweeted something that was poorly thought out, because that's how a lot of people think about Twitter, is they just tweet stuff, then that's that. But probably wishes he had that one back. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, who knows? Yes,
it's always been,
like I said, Google did get out there and do the recent tweets by so and so, blah blah blah, do not reflect.
Yeah, and then like the guy that runs the YouTube gaming stuff had to get out there separately and be like, we have a great relationship on top of that. And that's the thing where like you go like, oh boy, he probably got a talking to at some point, because Stadia is trying to make something happen here. They're trying to gain a foothold as much as they can, and when you get out there and do that stuff, you are, especially at a time where I want to say Stadia just released a bunch of new stuff that you talk about, like maybe it was the Gods and Monster, the
Immortals
Fenyx Rising.
Thank you.
Demo. Maybe it was around the time that had hit, and they were trying to like, hey, all these people are going to come try and do Stadia stuff, and now you've got like the loud narrative about Stadia is check out what this Rube said on the internet.
Yes.
And that is, if you are other parts of the Stadia team, you're like, fuck.
Yes. that is why this is news, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
hard to put that genie back in the bottle.
I've talked to that dude a handful of times over the years. He's a creative director. You know what I mean? Like not every creative director is but I mean he's got that kind of like the outspoken creative director.
Okay.
That sometimes gets into these exact situations over and over again, and I don't know. Whatever.
Fair. I like Journey to the Savage Planet.
I didn't.
No, that's fine.
That matters one way or the other, but
I didn't finish it, but
yeah, I thought it was cool.
It had some neat ideas.
Didn't have enough like narrative hooks for me to want to continue to explore.
Yeah. All right. Finally, we now have a pretty good idea of what Tom Holland looks like as Nathan Drake. And apparently Mark Wahlberg is playing Sully. Was that?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
I also did not know that. I don't know.
I think Tom Holland looks all right.
It's like kind of fits the part better than I would have expected.
Like a young Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes,
he's very much young.
However, Mark Wahlberg as a young Sully,
Sully, like
you don't see it, or are you just amazed by?
I'm not even that attached to the Uncharted brand, but I don't know, man.
Look, if you're gonna, okay, here's the thing I actually want to know: does that movie end with him tucking in half his shirt?
Right.
Because in the shot that's out there, it's not tucked in at all. Like I feel like is
tucked.
that like an origin story? Like is there some big moment in that movie?
His first love, right? It's like Solo is like
he's
you've
like
always wanted to know how he
yeah.
tucked in his shirt, haven't
right?
you?
Like he's peeing, and then the toilet explodes as he's finishing up, and he only has time to tuck into half his shirt, and he just goes with it.
There's
Like
something where he tumbles over the side of a cliff, and only the fact that his shirt was half tucked in saved him because it snagged on the tree branch or something. I don't know.
His dying wife reaches out to him and like grabs part of his shirt and tucks it slowly into his waistband as she falls to the floor. And
Yep, there it
he
is.
says, "I'll never untuck. I love you."
Great.
Yeah.
I don't think
untuck.
they know that that's the half tuck is a big deal.
Maybe
It
not.
sucks,
Yeah.
but like I think that doesn't register for the creative people in charge of the Uncharted movie.
Well, when they push this back, like they had to push Sonic the Hedgehog back to get it right, then maybe we'll see.
Maybe. Is Wahlberg wearing like prosthetics? Does he have a facial appliance? Like his forehead looks. Maybe it's just makeup. I don't know.
Maybe it's just makeup, and
I don't want to have to look at this picture again, but you're forcing me to open it.
Yeah.
you just look at the chat. There's dozens of them.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I think I just maybe am not a huge fan of Mark Wahlberg when you come down to it.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I don't.
He doesn't scream Sully to me. I know it's supposed to be younger Sully, but to me, Sully, isn't he supposed to be more of like a kind of like old sea dog kind of guy? Or am I don't know. You guys have played more Uncharted than I have.
So
I mean,
I
he's
don't know.
like he's been there.
Yeah.
He's
He's your trying to think like what's the term? Like he's not a CO because you're not in the military, but he's that guy. He's the guy who knows the shit and now is old and is back.
He has
at
like a
home
bunch
base.
of connections.
Yes.
he knows
you know.
every shortcut.
Yes,
he's the
he's-
cigar chomping, like
He's the one on the radio telling you how to
glad-handing
do it.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. He's giving you your marching orders and helping you out because he knows the game.
and he's the former Calvin Klein model.
So you're
with
saying
checkered
Paul
history.
Giamatti should be the
Okay, yeah, I could see it.
Okay,
I could see it. I could see it. All right, that's news. Let's take one more super quick break. Then we'll come back and read a few emails. What do you say? We'll be right back. Emails.
Oh,
Oh,
Who says we don't get the music?
that's right. That's it.
Keep going.
That's all you got for email. Let's see, email. That's all I can remember. Something like that. Yes, that's right. Yes. Cut a rug over there.
All right, send your remixes in to bombcast at giantbomb.com for
Oh, what have you done?
a chance to be the new email song.
If somebody can make something listenable out of what I just did into this microphone, then they deserve to win a prize. Bombcast at giantbomb.com is the email address. Got a lot of them this week. Where to start? How about Luke from Long Island? What does X mean? Is Xbox short for Extreme Box? What does the X stand for?
DirectX,
Yeah, but what does that mean? Direct Extreme?
Direct Extreme.
Yes.
Is that what we're going with?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's X like a mystery, right? It's like the X marks
Yeah.
the
Could
spot.
mean
Like,
anything.
what can the X mean?
like the
It's-
treasure is
Like
there.
It's like why
Could
as
mean-
well.
Whoa,
Hey.
why? Okay.
I mean, as everyone knows, the first Xbox came out in the 90s, where X was for extreme, like the X games. And
That's a fair point.
it was, America's first real big go at doing a console. And it was just like, look, we got to come out the gate and we got to be extreme.
Okay,
It's the
yep.
most extreme box that exists.
I mean, the Atari 2600 was American.
Yes.
I said the first real go, Jeff.
Oh, god damn it, man.
What? Do you think The Rock knows?
Yeah,
You think
he's the only one.
you think Bill Gates
Bill
told him-
Gates told The Rock, he whispered to him what
Told
it
him
was.
backstage what the X
It's like
means?
the end of Lost in Translation.
Damn it. We're never going to know. Extreme Box. I don't
Now
know
you're talking.
I'm never not going to be able to think about it that way now. All right. Patrick in Chicago. I have a 30-inch TV and regularly have to get up off my couch in order to get up close and read text in recent video games.
Yeah.
Even in console exclusives like Marvel Spider-Man, there is often in-game text or subtitles that are totally illegible from 6 feet away on my couch. Do you think this is just going to get worse during the next generation where everyone will be aiming for 4K? I totally have also had this experience in I don't know how many games.
Oh, yeah.
Lately.
My eyes are shit anyway, but like I've got a 55-inch, probably about 6 feet away, and I have trouble.
Yeah. I'm also on a 55. I'm more like 9 feet away, but like there are, I'm trying to think of, I think Spider-Man is one. There's been a handful of games lately where like the button prompts are so small, I can't tell what button they are telling me to hit.
Yeah. Sure. It's definitely like, I hooked up that Alienware we were talking about earlier. I hooked it up to my TV, and since it's a 4K TV, it's like, oh, you want a 4K desktop, and everything is fucking minuscule.
Yeah.
Obviously Windows has settings you can go blow it up and stuff, but it never sticks. So like I set them, and then like 3 reboots later, it's back to being a nightmare again, and that's been fun to have to deal with. And even then, it's like sometimes some apps are not able to handle the bigger text and just shape all weird. Like the Uplay client will look like shit. And
Windows UI scaling is garbage. It's terrible.
It's no good.
It's really bad. I hope they improve on that. But like this is something that happened around the 360. You remember that? Like wasn't Dead Rising notorious?
Rising was terrible.
Like people who were playing early 360 games on standard def televisions like couldn't see shit.
Yep.
Because they didn't think to scale the UI for that stuff.
I think that's something that, I think people have gotten better at it, but it's probably something that people need to continue to get better at.
Yeah.
But also I sit damn close to this TV, so I don't, it's not currently an issue for me.
I like some distance from the TV. I like to sit across the room from it.
Me too. I want to be right up on it and feel every bit of that 4K.
I feel like we've been seeing more and more games have adjustable HUD options and adjustable text to accommodate for this.
That is absolutely the answer, although that is obviously more work for some developer who has to implement all that stuff. But yes, that's the way to go for sure. And yes, you're right. More games have been doing that, and it is very appreciated.
For sure.
Let's see. Oh, I had an email. Where did it go?
And
it's over there.
Well, this is not the inbox. I can't find the email that I wanted, but I'm just going to read this one that I landed on instead.
Love the email you're with,
Michael. Michael in Brisbane, in Australia. Should there be a time limit on how long you can use the community microwave in an office? My job requires me to still come into work. It's a hospital, and someone was using the microwave for 10 straight minutes.
What?
That seems absurd. I think anything
like
over
low power,
4, you're a jerk.
I've definitely had some things where it's like you need to do this at 20% power for 10 minutes, but I would never do that in an office. That's fucked up.
That's like
4 minutes.
I've never had to microwave anything that long. Like, what are you doing at low power for that long? What are you cooking?
I think it was like a lasagna.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I could see that.
I've seen like for me, it was usually I think the thing is I've seen where it's been that sort of situation is like you're trying to defrost a turkey or something. It's like, like some large thing.
Don't shame their lunch, Jeff. If they want to eat a whole damn turkey for lunch at the hospital, they should be able to.
I'm all for it. Working at hospitals hard. Do what you need to do.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah,
we salute our heroes who eat entire turkeys.
Exactly. Yes. I don't know. Bring your own microwave at that point. Bring a second microwave and stack it on top of the other microwave and say, "This is Bill's microwave for his 10-minute nightmare food."
Well, what if you just plugged in your own microwave at your desk? What if you just had a microwave on your desk?
Perfect.
That's a power move.
What if you stuck pencils in the door thing so that it thought it was closed when it wasn't, and then you could just put food in and just leave it running all the time?
Why don't you put your food in the microwave while the 10 minutes is going off and then take it off before it's out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That way it doesn't beep as much and it's more stealthy.
Yeah.
I have no recollection of what it's like to work in an office at this point, but when we were there, we had at least 2 microwaves on our floor, I think. At least.
Yeah.
We had 2.
3.
Yes.
No, there were 3, weren't there?
I think just the 2.
Well,
there was 3 if you count the kitchen.
Yeah, that's one. There's a third in the secret kitchen, which was the early kitchen.
Okay. Sure.
There's a lot of microwave to go around.
There was. And still a lot of fish being cooked in them.
Yeah, God, man. Ugh.
That's just wrong.
Scott from Lexington, Kentucky, who forwards along an email that he sent from January 2016.
Okay.
Since we are on the eve of new consoles, I just wanted to post this as a follow-up to an old question. Going back to his old question from January 2016, which happens first? Spy Party is released as a completed product, or Microsoft and Sony release next-generation consoles? He sends along a screenshot of the Spy Party Steam page. I guess Sony and Microsoft win.
I don't
There's
even
still
think I
time.
knew that Spy Party was on Steam.
Oh
now.
yeah, it hit Steam. I guess back when Chris Hecker was doing the kind of preview tour for that, right?
Oh, okay. That was it. Going to
that's
Steam.
right.
Okay.
I believe that was the run up to it hitting early access on Steam.
Because I remember at that point we got codes for it that were like spyparty.com,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
I haven't checked in on it in quite a while, but I mean, Spy Party is rad. Like the thing.
Does it have more types of breads now
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question.
in the dialogue?
We should play some more Spy
Yeah, we
Party.
should check that out. I'm trying to think how that would work remotely. Is there anything where you have to be in the same room for that? I guess not.
No.
I guess, yeah.
In fact, it was harder when we were in the same
Yeah,
room. You had to
right.
like put me on the computer
Right.
over in the corner
You
and
had to,
tilt it away.
Make sure we were facing different directions and everything. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how the thing's shaped up. That has a lot of interesting ideas. I think it's dense.
Yeah.
There is a density of game mechanics in that thing that's pretty surprising. Joe from Massachusetts. I'm so glad that Jeff made the Twin Peaks reference after all the wrapped in plastic talk. Did any of you watch The Return, and what do you think of it? I thought it was wicked good and just as ridiculous as the first two seasons.
It was wicked good.
Okay.
I just bought that
He
series.
is from Massachusetts.
Where the hell is that? I just bought that.
Massachusetts? It's a state. It's out east.
No,
It's on the East Coast.
I gotta check my orders.
The Eastern Seaboard.
Oh, it's up there. It's
Should I-
fine. It's fine. It's
Should I
here.
watch Twin Peaks, like
Yeah.
the original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought about it for so long and never gotten around to it.
I showed it to a couple friends it was their first time seeing it about 2 years ago. And even with all the parodies of it
Yeah,
and
that's-
all the shit you've seen, it's still entertaining. And then you get to the second season and feel that just disappointment wash over you. It's so
Yeah.
it's such it's worth going through.
All right.
Yeah, most of the second season is disappointing, but
Okay. The original,
And
was
then-
like
and
back
then
in the
it's
day,
like-
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not talking about
yeah.
not something that came way later, because it seems like
No,
everything-
the new thing is considered like season 3, more or less.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I still need to finish it. It was really cool. I watched the first 2 episodes in a theater. They had like a double feature right when it came out, and that was really cool seeing it in a room full of people. And then I watched like 2 more episodes and was just like, I don't think I'm in the right headspace for this. And now with all of this happening, I feel like it's the perfect time to get back in and finish it off.
I kind of meant to go back and watch everything again before getting into the new stuff, and so I just never did any of that and have not watched it. So my wife watched the new stuff and would describe it to me in ways that made 0 sense, but was also very exciting. But yeah, you would also probably want to watch. You might even really need
Have
to
to.
watch Fire Walk with Me.
wait, do
movie.
people like that? I thought that people did not like
I love it.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
god, I
can't
love
stand it.
Fire Walk with Me.
Huh.
Oh,
That can be arranged.
there are so many fucking just hammed up scenes. Just yeah, love it, love it.
Okay. All right. Okay. How about this one? Raz from Romania. What sleeping position does the giant bomb crew sleep in? I have a weird sleeping position. I sleep on my belly with one leg up. It's like I'm climbing a ladder or a police chalk outline. He attached a picture.
I used to
That's
sleep
a
like
picture.
that. I used to sleep on my stomach, face down, with both of my legs up. Like,
What?
Up in the air. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Huh.
can't explain why.
Weird. I'd say I'm about 80 to 90% side sleeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where it's at.
I get some stomach sleeping in too, and I'll move the legs around sometimes, depending on
Hand
how much room you got.
under pillow head, hand at the side. Where are we talking?
I have
One of
moved.
these?
I have moved to a hand under the pillow formation
Yeah.
recently,
Oh, wow.
which is working out pretty well.
I sleep like I'm in a coffin. Like I sleep on my back for the most part. I'll do a side thing every now and again,
Okay.
but for the most part, it's like arms crossed or like
Ow.
arm up here, and then
Upside
just-
down.
Yeah,
Hang
upside
from your
down,
feet.
hanging.
All right. Okay. No back sleepers, huh? Nothing.
No, that's me. I'm a back
Oh, well,
sleeper.
okay. Well, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, I was too distracted by the imagery of the
Look
grave.
at the coffin. Yeah.
Unfortunately, to think of that as sleeping. I suppose it is a sleep of a certain type.
hmm
Let's see here. I almost brought this up earlier, so I'm going to read this email from Johannes because he touches on some of the same stuff. Have you watched the Project Milo demo for Kinect recently? I'm going to assume not. Is it fair to say that the only reason this isn't seen as the biggest lie in gaming history is because nobody ever cared that much about Kinect in the first place? It's so much worse than the Killzone 2 trailer that still gets brought up to this day.
Forgot all about that.
So I
But
didn't.
it never came out, so like
No, it didn't, but it still was very much implying what Kinect was going to be capable of.
To me, it implies what Peter Molyneux thought Kinect was going to be capable of.
Well, maybe, but the reason this came to mind is that I went back and watched some of that initial Kinect like E3 unveil sizzle
Yeah.
reel shit, like scanning your skateboard and all that stuff. Dude, if you haven't seen that in a while, you should go look at it.
I'm
It
looking
is
at it right now.
the
Like
most-
she's like, this is the first time thousands of people are going to see you, and Milo goes, thousands of people are going to see me.
Like it is the most smoke and mirrors shit that I can remember in games, quite frankly, in terms of implying what a product is going to do versus the reality.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
But also, it's weird because like Kinect was a camera, man.
Yeah.
Like the Milo stuff, you could maybe, like what's Siri? What's the Google Assistant, right? I mean, you could probably do something like that now. You just wouldn't, because why would you? Yeah, I don't know. Like that's like the Kinect was just a camera. Like any of the software demos just seemed like a weird thing to attach to the Kinect in the first place in retrospect. Well, now that knowing what Kinect really even was, it had nothing to do with any shit like that. So I don't know. Cortana won, I guess. Milo could have been our Xbox virtual assistant, but
right.
it just never happened. But yeah, that whole thing, I am glad I skipped that event, the Poncho event.
Poncho. Oh,
The
I don't think I.
Poncho thing.
Was that the one where they unveiled that stuff? I think I missed that one too.
Milo stuff might not have been at that event immediately, but it was
Okay.
like around that year, I think, wasn't it?
That might be right. God, when was the poncho? I did not. I remember. I feel like I remember people coming back to the house wearing those ponchos, right? Or they had them with them.
Yeah, some people that went smuggled some ponchos out. You were supposed to give them back, but we ended up.
Those things like have lights in them and like a battery pack.
It was lights that were like controlled by some like transmitter in the theater, so all of the lights would light up the same way as the event went on, or whatever. And so,
What the fuck?
yeah, some people smuggled some ponchos out.
What kind of cold?
Okay,
Like,
I guess, yeah, maybe ponchos was later, and this
Okay.
was like pre-Connect, like Project Natal type stuff.
just
But,
imagine showing up to a press conference and being asked to wear this plastic garment
yes,
with batteries in it.
we're going up Heaven's chimney tonight.
Right. What? I guess. Let's see. Vincent from Paris, France.
Someone in chat here, Peakborn in chat says, I did some work experience at Lionhead before Milo was announced. We weren't even allowed on the floor. It was being worked on. They were real secretive about it.
Huh. Okay. All right then. Yes, Vincent from Paris, France. Now that the PS4 generation is coming to an end, where would you rank it in your personal list of favorite consoles? It's like pretty far up there for me.
Huh.
It's definitely on the
It did good.
Yeah. I mean, the PS4 is the 360 of this generation to me. It's the one where I defaulted to playing everything that I didn't have a reason to play anywhere else. It's the one that I think had the best like console interface and was just the least of pain in the ass to use.
Yeah.
Like it was just kind of my fallback position.
I think this was also the generation where a lot more PC ports just kept getting better and better and better, or PC
Yeah.
versions of games, and so like consoles. Remember, like it wasn't really until the 360 came out that there was even something of a default controller for the PC.
Sure.
The 360 took that generation of the 360 becoming the standard controller on PC to where that finally got to a point where it's like, okay, now we can have PC ports that just kind of work, and you're not like, oh, it doesn't work with this driver, this and that. Like all that stuff became unified in a way that made it a lot easier, and I think the benefits of that were seen, through this PS4 generation. And so I look at it as the generation where like they had to make these half-step consoles just to try to keep up, but even then the PC was still a more powerful platform, which makes sense, of course, but really solid exclusives on the Sony side.
Yes.
Not so much on the Microsoft side, but the PC. The PC is a hell of a platform this generation.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. Part of me still really enjoys the simplicity of a console.
It's nice to be able. It's the thing I'm like. Again, it was like the weird, nice thing about Watchdogs running all fucked up on my PC. It was like this weird feeling of like, oh man, okay, consoles that maybe they'll be useful until I can find time to spend the money on this upgrade and do all this stuff. Like, like maybe we'll get a good chunk of time here where consoles are cool. I don't know.
Yeah, and like I value that simplicity and convenience enough to put up with worse looking versions of the games for to some degree.
Yeah.
I think there's a part of me that is potentially interested in getting back into achievements if things go that way, or working on my trophy score if things go that way. There's definitely like that aspect of this that is still like somewhere in like the top 10 things about a console. Like,
okay, it is heartening to hear somebody else say that, because sometimes I feel like the only holdout at this point.
There's some like I definitely like looked at my Xbox achievements and said like, I'm still ahead of almost everyone on my friends list, but there are definitely some people who played primarily on Xbox One over the course of this generation and have pulled ahead a little bit.
They did some work for sure. Yeah.
But
I still think about that stuff more than I should.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good segue to this question from Devin in Lincoln, Nebraska. Regarding the next-gen consoles, do you think Microsoft and Sony will release upgraded versions of these new machines a couple years down the line, a la the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro? Or will they just end up making smaller versions of the existing Series X and PS5?
Well,
I am not ready to say they're going to do half-step machines this time. I don't know.
I think that every console from here on out is going to be. I think with the way Microsoft seems to be positioning themselves with the unified OS and all this other stuff, every step is a half, or not. I mean, every step is a point on this continuity of this generation. It is not about. It is not always going to be about these hard cutoffs. Eventually, you'll get to a point where, like an iPhone, they'll be like, hey, this game doesn't run on anything that isn't running iOS 12 or higher. And that's something they can use to lock out devices that are not powerful enough to play the games anymore.
Yeah.
But I really think that unless they totally fuck up, unless no one is interested in the Xbox Series X, then they'll have to pivot and figure something else out. But I feel like if this works out for them, this will be. You will only talk about Xbox from here on out.
That's for sure. Either way, that's for sure. I mean, they're obviously just trying to create a kind of continuum of Xbox products, right?
Sony believes in generations,
sure,
but if they want to stay competitive, if that's the road Microsoft is on, I think to stay competitive, Sony will have to release something.
Yeah, if there's an arms race, then yes, they will have to keep up with each other. But I don't know. Like a lot of it depends on how the install base for those half-step consoles last time shook out, and I don't have a lot of visibility into that question.
I remember hearing that the Pro did what they thought it was going to do,
okay,
if not better than.
But I don't know what that is. I feel like I've still seen that like the base PS4 still outsells the Pro significantly, right?
I'm not sure about that, but from a pricing perspective, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same. I mean, like we're launching with a half-step console this time around. It's just a half-step
but I mean,
or half-step up, how you want to look at it.
Yeah,
but
well,
like Microsoft is launching with this strategy,
Right. But I mean, the thing about these machines is they're pretty beefy in every way. It's not like 360 PS3 era where they didn't have enough RAM, or the PS4 and Xbox One having like a joke of a CPU. Like they're kind of bringing it on every front this time. So I don't know. I wonder if it's possible that these are just good enough for the length of a generation. We shall see.
They will always want to sell more stuff and like
Totally.
sell more consoles to people that already bought one.
Yeah, and that's why I bring up the install base is, is there significant money in selling people an upgrade in 3 years, or did that not pan out that way last time?
I bet they, there were enough people that double dipped and enough people that want to be early adopters and want to be cutting edge in that specific way that I suspect it was worth it for them to do this.
Sure.
Also, think about if they didn't, what games would look like now. I mean, we would be aching for these new consoles in a way that we are not quite to this extent. But like, if the base PS4, if the base Xbox One was the thing people were still, I mean, there are a lot of people, but if that was your only option for playing Xbox games,
that'd be pretty rough. That'd be pretty rough. Yeah.
That'd be wild.
Yes, it would. Okay, a couple more emails here. Jay from Memphis. I don't know this. Maybe some aspect of this question came up recently on a show. Is Jared Leto's Joker the most despised movie character since Jar Jar Binks?
Oh, he's up there.
No, I mean,
He's disgusting.
He sucked, but he wasn't like that. Movie was really, really bad for a lot of reasons.
Wait, which one?
It wasn't. I don't think.
Yeah, he's been in a couple.
Well, I mean, Suicide Squad is what came to mind.
Okay.
What else was he in? Batman. I have only seen a couple
Aren't
of
they,
these
are
movies.
they adding him to the Snyder Cut?
They're adding
Yes.
him to the Snyder Cut. Yeah.
Can't wait for that. Yes, I can.
Most despised movie character since Jar Jar Binks. For me, it'd be fucking Palpatine in Episode 9. But that's another.
No, sir. I don't like him,
Okay.
but I despise Jar Jar that much more. He's up there.
I went back and watched those prequels while in quarantine. Episode 1, kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
especially
fun.
coming off of Episode 9. I was just like, this is great.
Yeah.
They're going for. I mean, it's not great, but they're going for something. It makes some
There's
decisions.
some ideas there.
Episode 2 and 3 are just a complete disaster. But one has some like heart in it that I think was missing from things
Yes,
lately.
it's called shooting on location.
I keep thinking about watching Solo. Like, I haven't seen any. The last Star Wars movie I saw was Rogue One, and I really liked it.
Yeah,
And-
Rogue
Yeah.
One's good.
Solo has a great soundtrack. Solo, you get to see Donald Glover as Lando, which is pretty cool.
But I feel like everyone, like, and now people in chat are saying Solo is totally okay, but I feel like people shit all over Solo so hard.
Well, it was a flop.
when it came
was like
out.
the first Star Wars movie that was a legitimate bomb. Like it basically derailed their plans for Star Wars at the cinema.
I'm not the first person with this take, but I think it would have been a lot less hated if it was just like space adventure starring this guy, and it wasn't like
It wasn't
a
Star
Han
Wars.
Solo origin story. Like if it was divorced,
If it was a
from Star
Dash
Wars.
Rendar origin story.
Or even just like, here's a cool space movie about this space hustler we made, and people be like, yeah,
All right,
okay,
Space
that's
Hustler. Now I'm on board. But whatever, you can't do that. That's not a cinematic universe. Space that the Space
Not
Hustler
yet.
cinematic universe, like Space Larry Flint, Space the People versus Space Larry Flint. Yeah,
Howard Sidious. I don't know. Is this anything?
just gonna keep workshopping these bits. Brad ran
Brad
away,
left.
so
I don't know.
you
I
know
don't know what to do,
there can be
man.
no more emails.
Brad is gone. I'm falling apart.
Courtney Love plays Space Larry Flint's Space Love wife in the Space People versus Space Larry Flint. Is that anything? Is that something?
I can just talk about. I mean, Star Wars is cool.
Is it?
Remember Chewbacca?
Yeah, that dude. It's funny.
It's a good noise. Yeah.
He smells weird. I don't know.
He
Like
was good in Solo. He was good in Solo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Some good Chewbacca.
I like
there.
Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Good ass
The
Chewbacca.
scene where they meet is like really actually compelling and interesting.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And I don't even like hate the guy who played Han. I just thought the vibe was off because like, you know, Han Solo is like one of the most beloved movie characters of all time, and Harrison Ford's performance of him is like one of the greatest ever, and it's hard to replicate. It's impossible to replicate that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a pretty tall order, I guess. I don't know, but I just I don't find myself interested in seeing like where the Star Wars story goes after Return of the Jedi, I guess. But like weird little side stories. I mean, because that's like the games, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
or
when the
books
games
and all
are
that stuff,
good, or it's like, hey, here's a little story that we've carved out somewhere else in this universe, or an origin story, or we're going to tell you something else about how stuff went. And you know, I think that stuff's okay. That's like Halo Reach. You know,
I mean, that's why I like The Mandalorian, is because it's a lot of like little one-off stories of like, we're going to a new planet, we're meeting a new alien, we interact, and then we move on to the next one. It's just a lot of like
that's why people like
bite-sized-
Clone Wars and stuff too, right? Because it's kind of
I can't tell you why people like
Yeah,
Clone
I don't
Wars. I tried giving that a shot. I like the Jendi Tartakovsky one that was like 6 episodes. but
fucking what?
Jendi Tartakovsky, creator of Samurai Jack and
Oh,
Dexter's
okay.
Lab and
Okay.
Monster Motel. What's that movie?
Monster Motel. That's the
Monster
one.
Motel.
I've never seen Clone Wars, but people talk like it develops those characters very thoroughly in a way that the movies do not.
I'm sure.
I don't know. I heard a terrible parody of a song that was made to be about the Mandalorian on Spotify once, and I don't think I'll ever watch the Mandalorian as a result of that. So
That's fair.
Okay.
it's coming back, right? They're making more of those.
Yeah, it's
Making more
fair.
Mandalorians.
Sure
They're putting
enough.
Mandalorian into the stuff into Star Wars Squadrons,
Can
right?
get
It's all cosmetic stuff.
Get a little baby Yoda. What do you call it?
Bobblehead.
Kind of bobblehead, like hang from your rearview mirror, kind of
They're
thing.
doing. I saw they're doing
want
a
'em on the
Mandalorian
dash.
Xbox controller,
What?
but it's
Yeah.
the old Xbox controller.
Weird.
It's not It's not this
Nothing
Xbox
yet.
Series X. It's not the current about to be released Xbox controller. It's like the Xbox One Xbox controller,
Do you
which
know?
just seems like, why would you do that?
I don't know. They still got those molds. You know, I haven't shut down those production lines yet.
Make
There's
the
a
new
little baby
ones.
Yoda on the back. That's
Do you know
why.
if I wonder if I don't know if anybody's tested this? Do the new controllers work on an old Xbox One? I wonder.
I don't know.
Do they go both ways? Because I know old controllers work on the new Xboxes.
I don't actually know. Yeah.
Or for example, like I wonder if the new controller works with the old like PC
think-
controller receiver and stuff like that. You know?
I think they do.
Yeah. I don't know if
Well,
anybody's...
because it's like Bluetooth now. Anyway, I think that is I think that is true. That yes, they have said that, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Interesting. Oh, that's right. The newer controllers have Bluetooth as well, so that would be an option for PC.
Right. Yeah.
If nothing else.
Though I don't have I do not have Bluetooth on this PC. I cannot remember. I don't think any PC that I have built or bought or anything like that. I don't think I've ever had Bluetooth
Oh,
like
wow.
on a motherboard.
Yeah, you can get a $10 dongle that works just fine.
Yeah.
If you need it.
I got a dongle.
Oh. What's it for?
I have a dongle
$10.
plugged into my Mister for Bluetooth stuff.
Yes.
So that I don't use anymore. That I
As do
probably
I.
just use for that. But
Yes. Okay. Last email. I started to say the person's name and barely caught myself because they say anonymous, please. I don't remember when we talked about Crown Royal. Was it last week?
that sounds like last
Yeah.
week.
I once worked on a focus testing project for Crown Royal. While the main thrust of the test was ostensibly helping to pick what flavors they should make, this was back when the flavored whiskey trend was just starting.
Oh yeah.
A big angle of the questions and the whole focus of the test was basically, do you think Crown Royal is for old people? which everyone always answered yes. One of the big suggested solutions from the company was getting rid of the bag. While almost
That's the only appealing part.
yes.
You could keep your D&D dice in there, you damn kids.
While almost everyone tested seemed to think that yes, the bag made them think of their grandpa, maybe not so surprisingly, everyone also answered extremely negatively when any of the questions asked about switching out the bag for something else or just getting rid of it entirely. Around a year later, I noticed the launch of Regal Apple Crown Royal, which indeed came in a bag. They went on and said, what's your favorite product gimmick that, like the Crown Royal bag, you would not want to give up? But go on.
I think whiskey is for old people. Like I've always felt that way. I don't know why. Or bikers, which are often also old people.
It depends on what kind of whiskey you're talking about.
Sure.
I'd say there's whiskey for lawyers and financial types. There's whiskey for bankers. I
think whiskey is for grown-ups,
for
and I've never felt like one of those.
Okay,
how about that?
Fair. I would say
I got into whiskey in college because I was a journalism major, and I was like, "Oh, the writers have to drink whiskey."
Yes. Writers / journalists is another demo for whiskey for sure.
I feel like we were more on the vodka side of that. That's fair. Just like we're going for it over here.
That's fair. I have become quite fond of whiskey in my later years, to be fair.
Yeah, I like whiskey.
A product gimmick that you wouldn't like. What's the?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else even has something as iconic as the Crown Royal bag, which
the gold flakes and Goldschlager.
Well, that's like part of the product, though, right?
Right.
I guess that counts.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't add anything to it, like from a use
gold.
of the product
it's called
perspective.
Goldschlager.
But yeah, that's the thing. I don't think you get away from it because that's like their gimmick, right?
Did you ever hear that?
You could get rid of it and sell it maybe for slightly more cheaply, and it would taste exactly the same. I just want to know how much Goldschlager we have to drink to would it ever be in your poop?
The gold flakes.
Got nothing.
Did that ever happen?
I don't know.
I've never had I've only had Goldschlager a couple of times, and
you didn't check.
No,
I always forget too.
I feel like you would have to drink a lot of it probably to really notice.
And I can't really do that
because Goldschlager, that California Extreme. I was working with you guys, and Goldschlager and Blue Lotus, the energy vodka.
Oh God!
Did you guys ever have anybody try to tell you that urban legend about Goldschlager that's like, the gold like micro lacerates your throat so that the alcohol gets in you faster?
Oh yes, yes, definitely, yes, absolutely, yes.
Jesus.
But I'm trying to think, like, there's like iconic things you do with the product. Like there are people that love to twist an Oreo apart. That's not quite the same thing, but it's like. Maybe a similar, like I'm trying to think like ritualized things around products,
like a toy in a Cracker Jack box.
Yeah, so those toys these days are not toys.
It's just like a
toys.
Just a Roblox code on the inside of the.
Yeah.
Now you're talking
flap.
Something useful.
Nothing like springs to mind in exactly the same way as the Crown Royal sack.
Yeah, like some part of the packaging that would be like, like, do you want like Pocky that has to open the way a Pocky box does, or does it matter how Pocky comes? I'm trying to think. Ian brings up the wrappers on a Reese's peanut butter cup. I actually would love to get rid of those, as it would facilitate me eating Reese's peanut butter cups at least twice the rate that I can now. If I could just be stuffing those in my mouth without having to peel them each time, that sounds great. I think Pringles need to come in a can. How about that? Like Pringles need to come in a can.
Yes. Like if you had a bag of Pringles, it'd be a disaster.
No, or even when they were like they tried to do like the plastic things and put like regular Lay's in those plastic not cans.
Yeah.
Like no, I want the classic Pringles can. I don't want anything.
I want to get my hand stuck in there. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't even know where it came from. Like it just occurred to me. I was like, you know what? I think there might be one behind me, and I turned around.
Yeah.
And sure,
You got a Crown Royal bag right there. What do you got in there?
Also activated the guinea pigs in the process. Cool rocks.
This one, nice.
This one kind of looks like tree bark.
I keep my rocks where I can see them, man. Don't bag those up.
This one also kind of looks like Tree Park. Got some rocks.
There's a third rock.
I think I've got a Crown Royal black bag around here, which is surprisingly not black. It's like a
Bummer.
beige color or something. But anyway,
That doesn't check out.
yes,
Yeah,
not the
that seems
biggest,
like bullshit to me.
not the biggest fan of Crown Royal, but the bag is forever.
Yeah, because you seemingly it's the perfect example of a thing that is like just well made enough to where you go like, I should keep this. I could probably do something with this. This could be useful. I could keep my D&D dice in here. Like there's always like that is the horrible pack rat mentality. It's the perfect example of like which side of the pack rat mentality are you on? Are you able to get rid of your Crown Royal bags, or do you save every single one because you're like, this might come in handy someday?
Yep.
I would save them.
Yes. 100% the latter.
I have a Crown Royal bag that has the 3D glasses for my plasma TV
See?
in them
Infinite
somewhere.
uses. Infinite
Somewhere.
uses.
Very handy.
Yeah.
All right.
Throw those away.
There's nowhere else to go with the emails.
Marbles, classically, in a pre-Pog days, you could
okay.
keep marbles in a Crown Royal bag.
Marbles,
Jacks.
dice, I guess you already mentioned.
Jacks, yeah.
Drugs.
Drugs.
Someone
Drugs.
just
Drugs.
wow, man.
Drugs.
I just received a link from chat. I just want to tell you that Etsy is rife with Crown Royal bag related products.
Oh, I'm sure.
Do you want some pillows made out of Crown Royal bags?
No.
No.
How about some face masks made out of Crown Royal bags?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay.
That doesn't sound like it'd be very breathable. If it was a face mask made to look like a Crown Royal bag, maybe.
How about a quilt?
It seems like it's such an itchy fabric. Like I don't want to put it on my skin.
Yeah. All right, we should stop. I'm going to stop. We're done here. Thanks to everybody who read in. Bombcast at giantbomb.com.
Yeah.
That's the end of the show. Next gen console stuff. I guess we can't get into it too deep just yet. There are embargoes to come.
Embargoes for the embargoes.
Check back in on our website.
Yes.
Yeah, come to giantbomb.com.
Every day, every hour.
That's right. Yes. Click the website multiple times an hour. It helps.
Does it?
No, it actually doesn't.
I don't think it does.
I don't think it actually. Yeah.
It actually does not. But we'll be back with that stuff when we
subscribe
can.
to the YouTube channel. I don't know what actually helps. What helps anymore? I don't know. Subscribe. Go over to giantbomb.com/upgrades.
You know what helps?
We got our free trial.
Crown Royal.
That's what we should be getting.
Okay. What if we made bootleg Crown Royal bags that said Giant Bomb on?
Ooh.
Yeah.
See, this is how brainstorming happens.
I like it in Alaska on the phone.
That's right.
All right.
Would you guys like to touch on the Giant Bombcast aftermath for a moment?
I want to touch all over it. Get up close with it. We've got between console launch and a lot of the other stuff. There's a whole lot going on around these parts these days. So we are going to hold off on the aftermath for a while. And I think we were talking last week and the one that we didn't record. There was just the impromptu that like, hey, we're going to try to find even a different spot for it.
That's the thing, is like it made a lot of sense for us to do it after the show when we were in the office, because Tuesdays were usually locked up. You know, Brad would have to process, and Jan and Jason were usually up to some other stuff. And so Jeff and I were just like, let's just hop back in there, answer some questions.
It was literally like, hey, everyone else is busy doing real work. What can we do?
Yes.
I don't know. Let's start another show. That now that a lot of that workload has changed and all that other stuff, we're thinking that maybe we move it to a different day and maybe kind of solidify some of the stuff around how people contact the show and all that stuff. So we're going to hold off on it for a while and rethink it a little bit along those lines, and then maybe bring it back a different day of the week, or maybe presumably, someone sent me a floor plan today.
What?
For an office. And I'm like, what is this?
Oh boy.
So I don't even know. But anyway, a short way of saying, like, maybe someday we're back in an office, and then that schedule has to change all over again. But now that we're kind of into it, doing weird stuff, so we're gonna hold off while we get through the console launch and the company stuff and all that other shit. Yes. So
to be clear, we are not. There is no return to an office imminent as of right now.
No, absolutely not. No one is having conversations like that. But it is like, hey, as a part of all the other stuff that's going on, we should at least figure this stuff out. I think is the basic idea. So, yes, I will tell you this: if someone said, "Hey, we're coming back to an office soon," I would say, "Good luck with that."
Yes, just to be clear.
At this point in time. Yes. So there's a lot going on. It's very strange these days, and doing stuff with the console launch and everything in the middle of all this has been fucking weird, but whatever. We'll get through it. We'll be on the other side, and
it is a lot. Yes, indeed.
Something.
Yes, indeed. A lot of work yet to do. We'll get there.
In the meantime, I finished drinking my tiny Coke.
All right.
Or did I finish making my hand even bigger?
Ooh.
You be the judge.
Set the tiny Coke next to the PS5.
I thought about doing that actually when we were doing that stuff. I was like, I should get one of those tiny Cokes that we have here and just really freak people out.
That's just insidious. That's wrong.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna call it. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back with more console stuff and other stuff and all kinds of stuff in the near future. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.